Chapter 3885. Among the newcomers in the Blue Cloud Pavilion, Lin Yi and his gang were the most powerful. After the battle yesterday, there was no doubt about it. Whether it was Meng Jueguang or Murong Zhen, they would only be looking for trouble if they fought them alone. However, if the two of them worked together, the situation would become a little tricky. Meng Jueguang was about to be promoted to the third pavilion leader of the Welcome Pavilion. Be it his power or influence, both would increase by a notch. Now that he had Murong Zhen, an expert at the peak of the early stage of the foundation building realm, and Meng Tong, they would have two experts at the peak of the early stage of the foundation building realm if they took the Meridian heart-shattering pill. A formation like this was already invincible in front of the newcomers. From Meng Jueguang's point of view, even if Lin Yi did not rely on the golden pill to send Murong Zhen flying during the battle, and purely relied on his own strength, there was nothing to worry about. Two peak early-stage foundation building experts working together, how could they not be able to defeat a mere Lin Yi? As for Xiao Ran and Xiao Hongkai, these two early-stage foundation building experts, Meng Jueguang no longer cared about them. Once they lost Lin Yi's protection, these two would only be stepping stones for Murong Zhen and Meng Tong to step on. Two peak early-stage foundation building experts. Hee, interesting. Lin Yi shook his head and smiled indifferently. He did not seem to be worried at all. The people that posed a fatal threat to him were the South Heaven Gate and Su Lingchong. As for Meng Jueguang and Murong Zhen, who were right in front of him, he had already categorized them as shrimp soldiers and crab generals. They were nothing to worry about. Even with his current strength, it was more than enough to deal with them. Besides, the next two heart-devouring exquisite herbs would soon mature. Once he successfully refined the foundation building pill, he would immediately advance to the mid-stage foundation building realm. Murong Zhen and Meng Tong, if they were not shrimp soldiers and crab generals in his eyes, what else could they be? The rookie challenge had ended. In less than a month's time, the welcoming pavilion did not arrange any assessment tasks for the rookies. Only after the trial of elixirs had ended would the fifth segment of the newcomer assessment officially begin. Murong Zhen and Meng Jueguang teaming up would not affect Lin Yi in the short term. Even if these people wanted to work together to do something, they would have to wait until the fifth round of the newcomer assessment. This period of time was the best opportunity for the other rookies to recuperate after the long and tiring rookie challenge competition. At the same time, it was the best opportunity for them to nurture their elixir seeds. After all, they had nothing else to do during this period of time. There was no newcomer assessment mission, and even the 3-month mining contract signed with Spirit Jade Hall had already expired. It just so happened that he could focus on cultivating the last batch of spiritual medicine seeds without any distractions. This was also the initial plan of many rookies. In the first 2 months of the challenge, they had only experimented with a small number of spiritual herb seeds to gain experience. Most of their efforts were left for the final month. How many points they could obtain in this segment, or whether or not they could protect their points from being deducted, all depended on their performance. The days passed one by one. The rookies rushed to the Pill Hall's Spirit Medicine Nursery before the deadline. Overall, the trial of elixirs was very beneficial to the rookies, especially to the rookies from Blue Cloud Pavilion who had the worst conditions. It was exactly the same as what he had expected. It was a completely deceptive segment. Even if they had the last month to cultivate with all their might, the final result was that besides Xiao Ran and Xiao Hongkai, both of them had submitted 6 spiritual herb seeds. Other than that, the one who did the best was Meng Tong, but he only managed to cultivate a total of 3 spiritual herb seeds. The others generally only managed to cultivate 1 or 2 spiritual herb seeds. There were even quite a number of people who ate duck eggs. In other words, according to the calculation of points for the trial of elixirs, other than Xiao Ran and Xiao Hongkai, even Meng Tong, who had the best results, would have some points deducted in this segment. As for the others, needless to say, it was even more dismal. Fortunately, these people were quite sensible when choosing the spirit herb seeds. They only chose at least 10 spirit herb seeds. If they had chosen more than that, they might have lost more than 10 points in this segment. They wouldn't even have a place to cry. However, under the reminder of someone, the rookies recalled that when choosing the spiritual herb seeds, not all the rookies had only submitted 10 spiritual herb seeds. A certain impressive Blue Cloud Pavilion rookie had submitted a maximum of 40 spiritual herb seeds in one go. However, now that the deadline had arrived, this pretentious head of Blue Cloud Pavilion's number 1 rookie had not submitted a single spiritual herb seed that had been cultivated into a living form. This was the mentality of most people. Even these cultivators were no exception. If they were unhappy with their own losses, they would definitely find a way to balance it out with others. At least in the trial of elixirs, Lin Yi was definitely the one who could make them feel the most at ease. Back then, he had drawn a total of 40 spiritual herb seeds, but now there was no movement at all. That meant that this guy would have 40 assessment points deducted all of a sudden. To be able to see the number 1 rookie suffer such a setback, what a delightful thing to see. This was originally Lin Yi's matter. No matter how many points he had lost, it had nothing to do with the others. However, under the deliberate incitement of people like Meng Jueguang and Meng Tong, it became extremely popular. Especially on the day of the deadline, all the Blue Cloud Pavilion rookies came out in full force. They did not do anything else just to watch Lin Yi suffer. Seeing Meng Jueguang leading the Blue Cloud Pavilion rookies to surround the entrance of Lin Yi's cave abode early in the morning, the bitter senior, Xiao Ran, and Xiao Hongkai could not help but look at each other. This bunch of people must be sick in the head. Instead of cultivating, they came here to watch boss. They must have nothing better to do. Even if the boss loses 40 points, it's only a matter of time before he can take first place. What does this bunch of weaklings have to do with it? Xiao Hongcai's face was filled with displeasure as he looked at everyone's gloating expression. Even the honest senior, at this moment, was filled with righteous indignation. Meng Jueguang is too despicable. He is stirring up so many people to fan the flames. He is just trying to get rid of the prestige that junior brother Lin has built up in the previous rounds. This way, he can cover up his own incompetence. Although they stood on Lin Yi's side, even the bitter senior could not help but break out in cold sweat for Lin Yi. Chapter 3886. If they want to watch the show, then let them watch. Who knows who will be the one making a fool of themselves later? Xiao Ran, who was at the side, didn't seem worried at all. His and Xiao Hongcai's spiritual herb seeds were cultivated by Lin Yi. The two of them only handed in 6 seeds, and this was already deliberately holding back. If it wasn't for the fear of arousing suspicion by handing in too many seeds, the two of them could have handed in even more. After all, with the poor conditions of the newcomers in Blue Cloud Pavilion, it was already very rare to cultivate 6 spiritual herb seeds out of 10. If they handed in more than that, it would be a little too ridiculous. Moreover, with Xiao Ran and Xiao Hongcai's current positions, the points from the spiritual herb trial were already insignificant to them. There was no need to arouse suspicion for a mere point. The spiritual herb seeds that Lin Yi cultivated for the two of them had such a high survival rate, but his own spiritual herb seeds were completely annihilated. How was this possible? Based on Xiao Ran's understanding of Lin Yi, this boss of his might be deliberately hiding it so that some clowns would be humiliated. Not only Xiao Ran, but Li Jingming also had the same thought in the crowd, waiting for Meng Jueguang's group to be slapped in the face. Amidst the bustling crowd, the door of cave abode number 1 at the foot of the mountain finally opened. When Lin Yi saw the crowd blocking his door, he was obviously a little stunned. Oh. So early? Lin Yi smiled slightly, but his next words immediately made everyone's faces darken. I heard such a big commotion just now, and I thought a group of beggars had appeared and blocked my cave abode to beg for food. I didn't expect it to be you guys. How interesting. Beggars. You're the one who's begging. Everyone cursed in their hearts. However, when they thought about it carefully, weren't they just beggars blocking the door to beg for food? Sending themselves to the door to be ridiculed. Just thinking about it, they were really cheap. At this moment, Meng Jueguang couldn't help but say, Lin Yi, have you forgotten what day it is today? Today? Lin Yi thought for a moment. Suddenly, he slapped his head and said, "That's right, senior brother Meng, you've reminded me. Is today the day of the spirit jade distribution? In the past few times, you always gave me the smallest. This time, you can't be biased anymore. Also, if anyone wants to exchange spirit jades with me, hurry up and line up to bid. First come, first served, fuck me." What the fuck was going on? Was this kid really stupid or just pretending to be stupid? Meng Jueguang was stunned for a long time. He was already cursing in his heart. However, Murongzhen, who was beside him, couldn't help but burst into laughter. Putting aside his strength and standpoint, Lin Yi was quite an interesting person. Lin Yi, don't try to change the topic. I have to remind you that today is the last day of the trial of spiritual medicine. Previously, you submitted 40 spiritual medicine seeds in one go, but now, you haven't submitted a single one. Do you know what the consequences will be? Meng Jueguang snorted coldly with a straight face. When everyone heard this, they instantly became spirited. Here comes the show. What consequences? Isn't it just a deduction of 40 assessment points? Lin Yi said with a playful expression. Deducting 40 assessment points? Wasting 40 spiritual medicine seeds that my spiritual medicine nursery has painstakingly cultivated. Junior brother, aren't you thinking too simply of the consequences? Before Meng Jueguang could say anything, someone in the distance had already responded on his behalf with a cold snort. The crowd couldn't help but be shocked. Hearing the voice, they looked over and saw 3 figures slowly approaching from afar. Beside him were 2 familiar faces, Kang Xiaoming and Zhong Pingliang. The one in the middle was the leader. The person in the middle was the sissy manager of the spiritual medicine nursery that they met in the pill hall when they distributed the spiritual medicine seeds. Why was this person here? Lin Yi raised an eyebrow when he saw this, but when he saw this situation, even if he used his toes to think, he could guess that this sissy manager's sudden arrival was something that Kang Mingming and Meng Jueguang had discussed beforehand. Senior brother Bitter quickly gave Lin Yi a look. This person had come with ill intentions. They had to be careful today, otherwise, something big would really happen. Lin Yi, however, smiled non-committally and looked on coldly from the sidelines, waiting to see what would happen. When the sissy manager of the spiritual medicine nursery approached them, the newcomers in Blue Cloud Pavilion all perked up. No matter how sissy this person was, he was still someone who held authority in the pill hall. Now that he had personally come to cause trouble for Lin Yi, the excitement today was really not in vain. Kang Mingming walked over and said with a chuckle, "Boss Lin Yi, when I was tallying up the assessment points, I discovered that all 40 of your spiritual medicine seeds were wiped out. I felt that this matter was a little strange, so I specially invited the manager of the spiritual medicine nursery over to take a look. This is my duty, I hope you don't mind." This guy was really despicable. Qiao Hongkai, Xiao Ran, and the others raised their middle fingers in unison. Lin Yi's eyelids twitched when he heard this, but it wasn't because of Kang Mingming's despicable face. It was because this was the first time he had heard this name. The manager of the spiritual medicine nursery? This name was truly worthy of this manager's sissy temperament. Which other man would come up with such a fucking name? The manager of the spiritual medicine nursery carefully sized up Lin Yi with her phoenix eyes. She raised her thumb and middle finger and said in a strange tone, "Junior brother, when you reported 40 spiritual medicine seeds previously, I reminded you out of goodwill, right?" "That's right." Lin Yi nodded lightly. "I clearly told you beforehand that the newcomers in Blue Cloud Pavilion can't nurture any spiritual medicine seeds with such conditions, but you still stubbornly chose it. Back then, I thought you were an alchemist and had some ability, but I didn't expect all 40 spiritual medicine seeds to be wiped out. Do you know what this means?" The manager's voice became increasingly flirtatious, almost comparable to Murongzhen's. "I don't know. Please enlighten me, Manager Spiritual Medicine Nursery." Lin Yi was still calm and composed. Every spiritual medicine seed, even if it's mass-produced, is still something that the entire spirit medicine nursery has put in a lot of effort. This time, the higher-ups have given the order to take them out for the newcomer assessment. Even if you know that you'll lose more than 80% of the spiritual medicine nursery, I have nothing to say. At this point, the manager's voice suddenly turned cold. However, you clearly know that you don't have the ability, but you still insisted on reporting 40 spiritual medicine seeds. This is not normal. Can I take it that this junior brother is deliberately destroying the fruits of my spirit medicine nursery's hard work? Without waiting for Lin Yi's response, Meng Jueguang already chimed in, that's right. Although I, Meng Jueguang, am the newcomer manager of Blue Cloud Pavilion, I will not blindly shield or be partial to this kind of irresponsible behavior that damages the precious resources of the 3 pavilions. Manager Spiritual Medicine Nursery, I promise you that you can do whatever you want with Lin Yi. We will do our best to cooperate. Chapter 3887. Very well, then I'll have to trouble Steward Meng to subdue this Lin Yi first, then report this to the Pill Division's elder, the spiritual flower steward said decisively. He wasn't in cahoots with Meng Jueguang and the others, but he really felt sorry for those spiritual medicine seeds. There were 40 of them, and they were all destroyed by a newcomer who didn't know what was good for him. It was a reckless waste of resources. If he didn't punish them as a warning to others, what would happen to the spirit medicine nursery if the newcomer assessment was held in the future and everyone followed suit? All right. Meng Jueguang suddenly shouted. Before he finished his sentence, he immediately attacked Lin Yi. The powerful aura around his body was clearly visible, shocking everyone present. Middle Stage Foundation Building. Even Lin Yi couldn't help but be slightly stunned. Meng Jueguang's strength was only at the peak of the early stage foundation building, the same level as Murong Zhen. Now, he had actually broken through to the middle stage foundation building. Before the crowd could react, Meng Jueguang's claw had already reached Lin Yi's shoulder. Although he didn't use any powerful martial arts techniques, he didn't hold back at all. If Lin Yi hadn't broken through to the middle stage foundation building before this, based on his strong performance of slapping Murong Zhen in the closing battle of the challenge, Meng Jueguang might not have dared to fight him. If he couldn't defeat Lin Yi in public, then his position as the eldest senior brother would have come to an end, and he would never have a chance to make a comeback. However, now that he had an absolute advantage in terms of strength and encountered such a good excuse, if he didn't quickly teach Lin Yi, his nemesis, a lesson, then he, Meng Jueguang, would no longer be Meng Jueguang. He might as well change his name to Bitter. Today, Meng Jueguang was going to show everyone who had the final say in Blue Cloud Pavilion. Was it Lin Yi, the blind and pretentious newcomer, or was it him, Meng Jueguang, the big senior brother in charge? An expert in the middle stage of the foundation establishment realm, even if he did not use any powerful martial skills, he could completely crush Lin Yi's shoulder with all his might, even if Lin Yi did not take the golden elixir. Even a genuine expert at the peak of the early stage of the foundation establishment realm would suffer a great loss. However, before Meng Jueguang's claw could grab hold of him, Lin Yi's shoulder suddenly exploded with a strong burst of vital energy, catching Meng Jueguang off guard and causing him to suffer a hidden loss. Hiss! Meng Jueguang felt a wave of pain and hurriedly withdrew his hand. He was shocked and fearful in his heart, but on the surface, he put on an act and said, Lin Yi, I'm saving you some face, so I didn't use my full strength. If you don't know what's good for you, then you will be regarded as disobeying the 3 pavilions. Don't blame me for being rude. Hee, in that case, I really have to thank senior brother Meng for holding back. Otherwise, my shoulder would have been crippled, right? Lin Yi raised his eyebrows and laughed. That's for sure. Junior brother Lin, you can't be so arrogant to think that you can face a middle stage expert alone, right? Meng Jueguang sneered contemptuously. Middle stage of the foundation establishment realm? He could even kill a peak late stage foundation establishment realm in an instant. Why would he be afraid of a new middle stage foundation establishment realm cultivator? Lin Yi couldn't help but laugh. If it weren't for everyone's eyes, he wouldn't have been able to. Just based on the fact that Meng Jueguang dared to attack him just now, he had already made a move to kill him. Since he was able to beat Yu Zhihaf to death back then, dealing with Meng Jueguang was naturally not a problem. At this time, Xiao Hongkai suddenly stood up and said, "Boss, if one is not enough, how about counting me in?" Xiao Ran also opened his mouth and said, "Count me in too." Seeing the two of them jump out, the other newcomers were instantly shocked. Things seemed to be getting out of control. However, seeing this, Meng Jueguang did not get angry. Instead, he laughed and said, "You want a rebel? Don't blame me for not reminding you." Capturing Lin Yi to see the Pill Hall Elder is the consensus of Pavilion Head Hu and the Pill Hall's upper echelons. From the beginning to the end, there is reason and evidence. Whoever dares to disobey will be regarded as openly rebelling. According to the three pavilions' rules, they can be killed without mercy. As he spoke, Meng Jueguang gave Murongzhen and Meng Tong a look, and each of them stared at Lin Yi and the rest. This time, they had the right and proper sword in their hands. Even if they killed Lin Yi and the others, the three pavilions wouldn't hold them accountable. On the other hand, if Lin Yi and the others dared to fight back, they'd be committing treason. Even if they died, they'd die for nothing. Wait. Senior brother Meng, please wait, there's a misunderstanding. Seeing that the situation was not good, senior brother Ku Bai hurriedly stepped forward to mediate. He was originally a little worried about today's matter, and now, the situation had indeed developed in the most dangerous direction. Meng Jueguang had clearly set a trap for Lin Yi. For a hot-blooded young man like Lin Yi, once he lost his composure and was agitated to the point of committing a crime of rebellion, his life would be over. The three pavilions would not let any rebel off. Misunderstanding? Everyone saw how Lin Yi fought back just now, and now you're lying through your teeth, saying it's a misunderstanding. You're protecting him so unprincipled, aren't you? Are you ready to go along with him? Meng Jueguang casually put a big hat on him. Did you secretly sell those 40 seeds? He had already realized that this was an excellent opportunity to bury Lin Yi and the rest, including senior brother Ku Bai. Senior brother Ku Bai was suddenly speechless. He was not good with words. In this situation, if he said anything wrong, he might be killed. He did not dare to speak carelessly. Take them down. Without giving Lin Yi and the rest a chance to think of countermeasures, Meng Jueguang ordered and took the lead to attack Lin Yi again. This time, he did not underestimate his enemy, nor did he intend to hold back. Gloomy Bone Claw, 23 forms. Gloomy Bone Claw, as its name suggested, was an extremely sinister martial arts technique. It was said that when cultivated to an extremely high level, the bones of one's entire hand would begin to change shape and gradually become a real gloomy bone claw. As for Meng Jueguang, although his hand had not completely turned into a non-human claw, compared to a normal person's hand, it was already very deformed. This was a sign of strength. Meng Jueguang attacked Lin Yi again, and the other newcomers had already moved aside. Senior brother Ku Bai, Xiao Ran, and Xiao Hongkai, on the other hand, were being closely watched by Murongzhen and Meng Tong. Although Lin Yi had always been very strong, and could even suppress Murongzhen, a master at the peak of the early stage of the Foundation establishment realm, no one at the scene would think that he was Meng Jueguang's opponent. After all, Meng Jueguang was a master in the middle stage of the Foundation establishment realm. They were not on the same level at all. Even Li Jingming and Zhong Pingliang couldn't help but feel a little restless. If Lin Yi really could not defeat Meng Jueguang, they would help Lin Yi even if they had to expose their identities as spies. Chapter 3888. Meng Jueguang's eyes couldn't help but twitch as he stroked his right hand, which was slightly fractured. He didn't get the upper hand again in this exchange. Lin Yi was just a kid from the secular world. Did he really have such unfathomable strength? Meng Jueguang looked at Lin Yi again with a hint of fear in his eyes. Although Lin Yi had been going against him since he came to Heaven Class Island, this was his first time fighting with Lin Yi. The result of the test also proved that Meng Tong and the others had suffered under Lin Yi's hands time and time again, and it wasn't without reason. This result made him secretly shocked, but his goal had been achieved. Brothers, Lin Yi has disobeyed the orders of the higher-ups. This is considered a rebellion. Hurry up and take down this traitor. Those who respond will be heavily rewarded. Meng Jueguang immediately called out with a cold smile. In his eyes, the fact that Lin Yi dared to defy him in front of everyone with the warning he'd given just now meant that Lin Yi was a dead man. There was no need for him to waste any more energy on him. His archenemy, who had troubled him for 4 months, actually fell for the trap so easily. The situation developed so smoothly that even Meng Jueguang himself didn't expect it. It even felt a little unreal. No matter what, he'd finally gotten rid of a huge threat today. So what if Lin Yi was strong? He was just a brainless idiot. He'd just need to set up a trap and he'd be sent to his death. As for the rest of the Blue Cloud Pavilion newcomers, if they could get rid of the number 1 newcomer, Lin Yi, not only would they get the heavy reward that Meng Jueguang mentioned, but they could also get rid of this abnormality. At least they wouldn't look so useless. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Just as Meng Jueguang was feeling very pleased with himself, the surrounding newcomers had surrounded Lin Yi's group. The 2 spies, Li Jingming and Zhong Pingliang, couldn't help but want to help. Suddenly, Lin Yi smiled. Traitor? Senior brother Meng is so sinister. But I would like to ask, what is my crime? Lin Yi asked with a faint smile. Deliberately destroying the precious resources of the 3 pavilions, and disobeying the orders of the higher-ups, isn't that enough to be a traitor? Meng Jueguang snorted. Hearing this, Lin Yi smiled even more playfully. Let's not talk about the rest. Just the first one, deliberately destroying the precious resources of the 3 pavilions. Where is the evidence? Meng Jueguang sneered and didn't say anything. He extended his hand and made an inviting gesture to the spiritual flower manager. This kind of thing didn't need him to waste his breath. You clearly know that you don't have the ability to do so, but you still went ahead and warned us in advance. You insisted on choosing 40 spiritual medicine seeds, but in the end, you didn't even manage to grow a single one. Isn't that proof? The spiritual flower manager said with an unfriendly expression. Lin Yi shook his head with a light smile. Manager Ling Hua, everything you've said is correct, but there's one thing you're wrong about. What is it? Yi frowned. Not a single one has been cultivated. Who gave you this information? As far as I know, today's the deadline. We won't be able to make a decision until sundown, right? Lin Yi said seriously. Meng Jueguang was amused and said mockingly, so what? To this day, could it be that you can still conjure up living elixir seeds? If you can only make 1 or 2, I advise you not to embarrass yourself. Living spirit herb seeds could only be cultivated under special conditions in the spirit medicine nursery. So, everyone, including Meng Jueguang, had long believed that even if Lin Yi's 40 spirit herb seeds weren't completely wiped out, they were almost all dead. It was impossible to cultivate them in batches on the last day. This was something no one could do. Indeed, even Lin Yi couldn't do the latter, but the former was a piece of cake. And senior brother Meng, if the results I hand in can satisfy you, what will you say about today's matter? Lin Yi said with a meaningful smile. Satisfy us? Meng Jueguang looked at Lin Yi's fearless expression and couldn't help but shiver. He couldn't help but start to mutter. Did the kid really wait until today to hand over the seed? Other people wouldn't have the guts to do that, but with Lin Yi's attitude of showing off all the time, it wasn't a possibility that could be ruled out. Meng Jueguang rolled his eyes and smiled evilly. That's simple. Your subordinates, Xiao Ran and Xiao Hongkai, have each handed in 6 spirit herb seeds. As their boss, your results can't be worse than your subordinates, right? My request shouldn't be too much, right? What senior brother Meng means is that as long as junior brother Lin also hands over 6 living spirit herb seeds, today's matter won't be his fault, right? Senior brother Ku Bai's eyes lit up. He also knew that Lin Yi helped Xiao Ran and Xiao Hongkai cultivate spirit herb seeds. In his opinion, Even if Lin Yi really played with fire until the last day, it shouldn't be a problem for him to take out 6 living spirit herb seeds. 6. Junior brother Ku Bai, do you have a pig's brain? Don't you understand human language? Meng Jueguang snorted coldly. Next to him, Meng Tong jumped out and said with a smile, Xiao Ran and Xiao Hongkai were able to hand in 6 seeds when they only received 10. According to this ratio, Lin Yi has received 40 seeds, so he has to hand in at least 24 seeds. Now, do you understand my 9th cousin's meaning? When they found out that Xiao Ran and Xiao Hongkai had each cultivated 6 spirit herb seeds, he and Meng Jueguang suspected that the 2 of them must have cheated. Maybe they went outside to buy the seedlings. However, because they didn't have any evidence, they didn't say anything. Now, they could use it to trick their boss Lin Yi. Hiss. The bitter senior brother and the others immediately gasped. Out of the 40 spiritual herb seeds, they had to cultivate 24 of them to live. Even the professionals in the spirit medicine nursery couldn't do this. However, before they could refute, Meng Jueguang was already the first to say with a smile, Spirit Flower Manager, do you think this is a good way to deal with it? Since he's Manager Meng's subordinate, then naturally, Manager Meng has the final say. I just want an explanation. I don't want the 40 spirit herb seeds that our spirit medicine nursery has painstakingly cultivated to be wasted, the Spirit Flower Manager said with a frosty expression. He wasn't stupid. He could already tell that Meng Jueguang was using this opportunity to cause trouble. It seemed like he wanted to clean up the spirit medicine nursery. However, this had nothing to do with him. From his point of view, the only reason he came here today was to make an example out of the others. He wanted to set a rule for the newcomer assessment in the future. Chapter 3889. If Lin Yi couldn't meet this requirement, then even if he could produce a few living spiritual medicine seeds, he would still be guilty of deliberately harming precious resources. His previous act of resistance was evidence of rebellion, enough to make him die without a burial place. Senior brother Ku Gua and the others couldn't help but look at each other. This idiot actually had the cheek to say that this was business. Then, according to his standards, shouldn't Meng Tong and the others be hung up and beaten up as a warning to others? 24 seeds. Even Xiao Ran and Xiao Hongkai couldn't believe that Lin Yi could produce so many seeds. Meng Jueguang was planning to use this opportunity to force Lin Yi into a dead end today. Unexpectedly, Lin Yi smiled disapprovingly. 24 seeds. I thought that senior brother Meng's requirements would be very high. I didn't expect that you would only have this little insight. How disappointing. Huh? What nonsense is this fellow talking about? Meng Jueguang and the others were stunned, then their faces were full of ridicule. Lin Yi, this pretentious leader, really didn't change. Now that he was about to die, he still couldn't change his stupid character. Lin Yi didn't continue to pay attention to them. He turned around and entered the cave abode. When he came out again, he was holding a cultivation tank that was originally distributed by the Spirit Medicine Nursery. Looking at the things in the cultivation tank, Meng Jueguang and the others couldn't help but look at each other. This cultivation tank was actually filled to the brim with 10 fresh and tender seedlings. Seeing these seedlings, Meng Jueguang and the others were only shocked. However, the sissy supervisor of the spiritual flowers was completely stunned. His pair of phoenix eyes stared straight at the seedlings, full of disbelief. There are only 10 of them. There's still a long way to go. Meng Jueguang refused to give up. However, at this moment, he was feeling extremely fortunate. Fortunately, he was careful and cleverly used Xiao Ran and Xiao Hongkai, the 2 cheaters, to make an issue out of it. Otherwise, Lin Yi would have succeeded in showing off today. He secretly kept 10 seedlings and did not hand them over until the deadline. Lin Yi probably already knew that they would come and make things difficult for him. He was really cunning. However, as the saying goes, the devil rises 10. Lin Yi's good days came to an end. He could take out 10 seedlings, but could he take out 24 seedlings at once? Even if he thought with his toes, he would know that it was simply impossible unless he cheated. Senior brother Meng, when did I say that was everything? Lin Yi looked at him as if he was looking at an idiot. He turned around and went back into the cave. Humph. I'd like to see how long you can hold on for. Before Meng Jueguang could finish his sentence, he forcefully swallowed his words. He saw Lin Yi bring out another cultivation tank. There were another 10 seedlings on it. Holy shit. Meng Jueguang's eyeballs almost popped out. Murongzhen, Meng Tong, and the rest all looked incredulous. They had the same question mark in their minds. How did this guy do it? Before they could question him, Lin Yi turned around and went back into the cave. When he came out again, he was carrying 2 cultivation tanks. One had 10 seedlings, while the last one had 9 seedlings. One had 10 seedlings, and the last one had 9 seedlings. A total of 39 seedlings. That should be the standard that senior brother Meng mentioned. Can we talk about what happened just now? Lin Yi's expression suddenly turned cold. He said, as the senior brother in charge of the newcomers, you attacked the newcomers without asking the right and wrong. Senior brother Meng, can you tell me what kind of crime this is? Feeling the cold murderous intent in Lin Yi's tone, even Meng Jueguang could not help but shiver. In the 3 great pavilions. Even if the other ordinary disciples attacked the newcomers, it was a serious crime. As the senior brother in charge of the newcomers, he would be punished even more if he knowingly broke the law. This was not a joke. If Lin Yi really made a big deal out of this and alerted the higher-ups of the 3 great pavilions, Meng Jueguang would not be able to bear the consequences. He would not even be able to keep his current position as the supervisor of the newcomers, let alone be promoted to the 3rd pavilion leader of the Welcome Pavilion. He would also be severely punished. By then, all his hard work over the years would be ruined. At this point, everyone present was completely shocked. They thought that Lin Yi was going to be the unlucky one, but in the blink of an eye, the situation had changed completely. A total of 39 fresh and tender spiritual herb seedlings. Lin Yi's counterattack was too sudden. It was a slap to the face. Hee, boss is mighty. Let's see what you idiots have to say now. Xiao Hongkai, senior brother Ku Bai, and Xiao Ran looked at each other and laughed proudly. Meng Jueguang became anxious when he saw that everyone's eyes were starting to change, as if they were going to scatter like monkeys when the tree falls. He suddenly had an idea and shouted, "Wait! You only received 40 spirit herb seeds, but now you suddenly took out 39 seedlings. I have every reason to suspect that you are cheating." Cheating? Lin Yi raised his eyebrows noncommittally. You have to be responsible for what you say. I advise senior brother Meng to think carefully before you speak. Otherwise, apart from attacking a newcomer and adding malicious slander, don't blame me for being merciless. Meng Jueguang thought that he had grasped the last life-saving straw. He snorted with certainty. It just so happens that the spiritual flower supervisor is here. Whether it is cheating or not, he has the right to say it. 40 spiritual herb seeds, but 39 seedlings were produced in the end. Furthermore, they were all one-off. If this was not cheating, Meng Jueguang was even willing to twist his head off and let Lin Yi kick it like a ball. From his point of view, these 39 seedlings of Lin Yi might have been bought from somewhere at a low price to make up the number. Alright, then let the spiritual flower supervisor decide. Lin Yi laughed softly and nodded calmly. While the two were talking, the spirit flower manager, the sissy, was completely immersed in the 39 seedlings Lin Yi had brought out, unable to pull himself out of it. It was only after a long while that he came back to his senses, holding his forehead with a cry. Under Meng Jueguang's ardent gaze, the spiritual flower supervisor's gaze swept between him and Lin Yi before he said, 40 spiritual herb seeds to grow 39 seedlings. Not to mention the simple and crude environment of the Blue Cloud Pavilion, even in the most suitable environment of the Spirit Medicine Nursery, with the best professionals handling it, it would still be impossible to achieve such a high survival rate. Did you hear that? This is what the spiritual flower supervisor, the chief specialist of the spirit medicine nursery, personally said. Meng Jueguang said proudly. Chapter 3890. The supervisor of spirit flower took a deep look at him and continued, "These seedlings seem to have been growing for a while, and their quality is very good." The spiritual herb seeds provided to the newcomers were cultivated in batches to be congenitally deficient. In theory, no matter how good the outside environment is, it's impossible to grow seedlings of such quality. This is also something that no one can do. Well, now Lin Yi, what else do you have to say? In Meng Jueguang's view, the 2 points mentioned by the supervisor of spirit flower had completely confirmed the fact that Lin Yi had cheated. Cheating in the crucial newcomer assessment didn't sound as serious as rebellion, but it was also a serious crime. In this way, Lin Yi's name would at least be blacklisted by the 3 pavilions, and he would never be able to make a name for himself in the North Island in this life. Unexpectedly, Lin Yi frowned and looked at Meng Jueguang, saying, "Senior brother Meng, the supervisor of spirit flower is a guest from afar, and his status and power are no less than yours. Don't you think it's rude of you to interrupt him like this?" "What the hell?" Meng Jueguang almost spat out blood. In front of everyone, he was called rude by Lin Yi, a newcomer in the secular world. It was so intolerable. "Lin Yi, don't try to change the subject. According to what the supervisor of spirit flower just said, you've already been convicted of cheating. Let's see how you can defend yourself now." Meng Jueguang couldn't help but swear. "I've been convicted of cheating?" Lin Yi was instantly amused. "Senior brother Meng, you just said that the supervisor of spirit flower has the most right to speak here. Why can't you wait to jump out and pronounce the sentence before the supervisor of spirit flower says anything? Slap yourself in the face. Isn't this our senior brother Meng's specialty?" Qiao Hongkai, who was standing beside him, said with a smile. Meng Jueguang's face darkened again. Seeing that everyone was looking at him, he could only suppress his anger and maintain his composure. "All right, then I'll have to trouble Supervisor Ling Hua to pronounce the sentence. Today, I'll let you die knowing." Everyone's eyes focused back on the spirit flower steward. He took a deep breath and said slowly, "Fine. Then let me tell you the result. This junior brother Lin Yi, he did not cheat." Quack. He didn't cheat. Meng Jueguang and the crowd were dumbfounded. He pointed at Lin Yi and stammered, "How? How is this possible? Manager Ling Hua, you couldn't have made a mistake, right?" The spiritual flower manager shook her head and said in a similarly incredulous tone, "To be honest, I also find it hard to believe. However, these 39 seedlings were indeed grown from that batch of seeds. This cannot be faked." "Why?" Meng Jueguang quickly asked. "Because these seeds were all marked with the vital energy unique to the spirit medicine nursery. No one can imitate it. Therefore, we can confirm that junior brother Lin Yi did not cheat," the spiritual flower steward said with certainty. "Did you hear that? Senior brother Meng, what else do you have to say?" Lin Yi immediately sneered. He had already noticed the vital energy mark on the seeds when he was channeling vital energy into them. That was why he dared to do that today. Even if the spiritual flower steward and Meng Jueguang were in cahoots, he was not afraid. However, from what the spiritual flower steward had said, he and Meng Jueguang were not the same kind of people. This saved him a lot of trouble. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Meng Jueguang was in a difficult position this time. Not only did he frame his new subordinate, he even attacked him recklessly. If this accusation was pursued, it would be a serious one. This. Everyone can testify for me. I was wholeheartedly working for the public. Even if there was a mistake along the way, it's understandable. The higher-ups will definitely look into every detail. Lin Yi, don't think of framing a good person. Meng Jueguang was at a loss for words. However, he still stubbornly said. Framing a good person? From what you said, you're framing my boss Lin Yi. What do you mean by that? Qiao Hongkai was instantly angered. This Meng Jueguang was too shameless. Spiritual Flower Steward, you were a witness from the beginning to the end. What do you say? Lin Yi ignored Meng Jueguang and turned to look at the Spiritual Flower Steward. Regarding today's matter, Steward Meng was indeed a little rash. He was at fault first. The Spiritual Flower Steward immediately made his stand clear. Today, he had followed Kong Ming Ming here with the intention of working for the public. He was not in the same boat as Meng Jueguang. Naturally, there was no need for him to take the blame for Meng Jueguang. All right. I will report this matter to the higher-ups. I hope that the Spiritual Flower Steward can speak up for justice. Lin Yi cupped his hands and said. The Spiritual Flower Steward glanced at Meng Jueguang. Normal people would not do something like offending someone for no reason. However, he still nodded and said, all right. However, Junior Lin Yi, can you tell me how you cultivated these seedlings? It's hard to imagine the survival rate of such good quality. I'm very curious. As the head steward of the Spirit Herb Nursery, the only thought on his mind right now was to figure out the secrets on Lin Yi's body. Out of the 40 seeds that were congenitally deficient, he had managed to grow 39 seedlings of good quality. It was an exaggeration to say that the survival rate was close to 100%. If he wasn't moved by this, then he wouldn't have earned his position today. If he could get his hands on this secret, it would be equivalent to getting a huge treasure for the Spirit Medicine Nursery. Not to mention offending a mere Meng Jueguang, even offending the head of the Welcome Pavilion, Hu Yunfeng, wouldn't be a problem. Spirit Flower Steward, you should know that this is a hidden trump card. Even the spiritual herb planters in the Spirit Medicine Nursery wouldn't share it easily, would they? Lin Yi rejected without hesitation. That's true. I was being rude. The Spiritual Flower Steward couldn't hide the disappointment in his eyes, but he didn't give up. Then, if there's a chance, Junior Lin Yi, would you like to work in the Spirit Medicine Nursery? Of course, you can also work in the Elixir Hall. Don't worry about the salary. Everything is negotiable. Well, we'll see how it goes, Lin Yi said non-committally. Right now, he was just a newbie in the Welcome Pavilion. As for his future development, he could only take it one step at a time. His main goal was to go to the Middle Island and find Zhang Liju. If it could be of some help, then he wouldn't mind working anywhere. But if it was of no benefit, then he could only politely decline. Seeing that Lin Yi didn't seem to be particularly tempted, the Spiritual Flower Steward couldn't help but look at him in a higher light. Neither arrogant nor rash. This Lin Yi was quite interesting. Chapter 3891. My pleasure, Kong Ming Ming said eagerly. Although he had Su Lingchong behind him, he still wanted to enter the Hall of Pills in the future, and this Spirit Flower Manager was considered a mid-level member of the Hall of Pills, and it was said that he had a powerful background. If he could form a good relationship with him, it would be a good thing. He specially invited this person over today, other than to discuss how to deal with Lin Yi with Meng Jueguang. The other reason was to curry favor. Now that his first goal had failed, he had to grasp the remaining one, in case he got nothing. Unexpectedly, just as Kong Ming Ming was about to flatter him, the Spirit Flower Manager already pointed at the 4 cultivation tanks Lin Yi took out. Then I'll have to trouble Brother Kong to help me move them back to the Spirit Medicine Nursery. Remember to come alone, I have something urgent to do, so I'll be leaving first. With that, the Spirit Flower Manager swaggered away, leaving Kong Ming Ming staring at the 4 huge cultivation tanks alone. When he came back to his senses, he wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He could only look to Zhong Pingliang for help. The Spirit Flower Manager said that only you can go. I can't help even if I want to. Zhong Pingliang shrugged, secretly gloating. Lin Yi and the others laughed. Although this Spirit Flower Manager was a sissy, he was a clever person. In order to show his innocence, he cut ties with Kong Ming Ming and used this kind of thing to disgust Kong Ming Ming. Only he could think of something like this. The culture tank wasn't heavy, but it was big. Plus, the seedlings inside couldn't be bumped or damaged. If someone really took 4 of them all the way to the spirit medicine nursery 20 miles away, even someone like Kang Xiaoming, who was at the early stage of foundation establishment, would be in a difficult position. Serves him right. This kind of bastard deserved to be dealt with like this. The spirit flower manager left, and Kang Mingming stumbled away with the 4 cultivation tanks. As for the main character, Meng Jueguang, he was given the cold shoulder, and even had to wait anxiously for someone to settle the score. It was a good show. Just like that, Lin Yi had dealt with it so easily. It really made the crowd who were watching the show deeply understand what it meant to be the #1 rookie. This was not the end of the matter. With the help of his bitter senior brother, Lin Yi divided the complaint into 3 parts and simultaneously sent them to the higher-ups of 3 places: the Welcoming Pavilion, the Law Enforcement Hall, and the Blue Cloud Pavilion. This time, it was finally Meng Jueguang's turn to be restless. Framing a newcomer and rashly making a move, this crime was no joke. If this complaint was only sent to Hu Yunfeng's hands, it wouldn't be a big deal. After all, Hu Yunfeng was one of his own people, and he would definitely protect him. But, if it was someone from the Enforcement Hall and Clear Cloud Pavilion's upper echelons, he, Meng Jueguang, wouldn't be able to hook up with them. In addition, the spiritual flower caretaker had also stepped forward to testify for Lin Yi. If they were to go by the book, Meng Jueguang would be the one to do it this time. Even if he didn't die, a layer of his skin would be peeled off. 3 days later, all the rookies in the Welcoming Pavilion gathered at the back mountain hall. The 5th round of the rookie assessment was about to begin. Before the pavilion master, Hu Yunfeng officially announced the start. The rookies gathered in groups of 2s and 3s and chatted. Junior brother Lin, I asked senior brother Lu to find someone to help me inquire about this matter regarding the lawsuit against Meng Jueguang. I'm afraid it's going to fall through, sigh. Senior brother Bitter said to Lin Yi with a frown. Although he was an honest person, he had been oppressed by Meng Jueguang for too long. In terms of resentment towards Meng Jueguang, he was definitely the one with the deepest resentment. This time, he finally managed to get hold of the other party's weakness. Senior brother Bitter really hoped to make Meng Jueguang suffer, or even directly step on him. However, the news that came from above these 2 days made his heart sink. Hu Yunfeng did not have much hope for the 3 papers of complaint. It was just a formality. However, the Law Enforcement Hall and the Blue Cloud Pavilion also put on a stance of holding back, which made people's jaws drop. Actually, there's nothing to be disappointed about. This was already expected. Lin Yi shook his head indifferently. Unlike senior brother Bitter, he did not expect Meng Jueguang to really be severely punished by the higher-ups. After all, he had Su Lingchong backing him up. For the sake of Su Yuanzheng, the 3rd elder of the Soaring Sky Pavilion, as long as it was not a big matter, they would more or less give him some face. It couldn't be helped. Where there were people, there would be underworld. This was the underworld of Heaven Stage Island. Therefore, this time, when senior brother Bitter sent out the 3 complaints, Lin Yi's real purpose was just to make a warning to Meng Jueguang and his subordinates, so that they would not dare to be so unscrupulous again. After all, there would always be a time when favors were useless. Su Lingchong could protect him this time. Would he protect him a 2nd time or a 3rd time? Not to mention whether Meng Jueguang would give him face. If Meng Jueguang was really stupid to this point, this young Master Su would probably have kicked him away long ago. There was no need to save him. Boss, look, Meng Jueguang's eyes are already green when he looks at you. It's like he wants to skin you alive. Xiao Hongkai chuckled. Lin Yi laughed. Let him be, but this guy isn't an idiot. He'll learn from his mistakes, and I don't think he'll dare come looking for trouble in the open after what I did to him. At most, he'll use underhanded methods like before. Underhanded means? Meng Jueguang is a living tragedy in front of our boss. When did he take advantage? If his hand comes, his hand will be broken. If his leg comes, his leg will be broken. If his skull comes, he will be smashed into pieces. Xiao Hongkai curled her lips and sneered. The bitter senior brother and Xiao Ran couldn't help but laugh when they heard this. Xiao Hongcai's words were crude, but the logic was not crude. Xiao Hongcai's witty words were really the same when used on Meng Jueguang. It was a tragedy. However, the next assessment is in the outer area of the back mountain. Just like the previous newcomer trial, the three of you still have to be careful. Otherwise, it will be easy for others to take advantage of you. The bitter senior couldn't help but remind them. It's better if he comes looking for trouble. I haven't taken revenge for the last time. This time, I must get back at him. Xiao Hongkai clenched his fist and snorted. In the previous newcomer trial, he was the most miserable one among them. If it was not for Lin Yi's timely appearance at the last moment, he and Xiao Ran might not have survived. Xiao Ran at least had the shadow step to struggle for his life, but he, Xiao Hongkai, would definitely die. Now, the newcomer trial was changed to the newcomer assessment. The location was also in the outer area of the back mountain, but the strength of the enemy was completely reversed. Chapter 3892. While everyone was talking, everyone was already in place. Hu Yunfeng immediately announced, the 5th round of the newcomer assessment, the spiritual beast trial. I believe that all the newcomers are familiar with this mission. It is to capture a spiritual beast as your pet. In the cultivation world of Heaven Stage Island, spiritual beasts as pets were extremely common. Any expert with a bit of strength would definitely have a spiritual beast with them. Let's not talk about the distant ones. Miss Shangwan's little curly bear was a living example. Regarding this, the newcomers present were already envious. However, firstly, their strength was low, and secondly, they did not have the extra spiritual jades to raise a spiritual beast. They could not even satisfy the most basic requirement of taming a spiritual beast, a spiritual pet talisman. Therefore, they could only think about it for the time being. Spiritual pet talisman was the most common and reliable way to tame a spiritual beast on Heaven Stage Island. However, the price was not low. Even the lowest level spiritual pet talisman would cost at least 100 spiritual jades in the market. Other than the second generation cultivators in Soaring Sky Pavilion, the other newcomers could not afford it. After a pause, Hu Yunfeng continued, this time spiritual beast assessment will last for a month. The location will still be the periphery of the back mountain. Before you set off, each of you will be given a low-level spiritual pet talisman. After a month, the points will be evaluated. As for the specific evaluation method and some things to take note of, Manager Meng Jueguang will introduce it to everyone. Seeing Meng Jueguang walk up the stage in high spirits to Hu Yunfeng's side, the newcomers were all confused. This guy was just a newcomer manager of Blue Cloud Pavilion, but there were all the newcomers from the 3 pavilions present. What was the situation with him going up to introduce them? For this kind of thing, even if Pavilion Master Hu Yunfeng did not personally introduce them, there was still second Pavilion Master Feng Song. At the very least, Kong Ming, the newcomer manager, would be more reasonable than Meng Jueguang, right? However, Lin Yi and the others were well aware of this. Meng Jueguang was about to be promoted to the position of the 3rd Pavilion Master of the Welcoming Pavilion. Now that it was already a foregone conclusion, Hu Yunfeng was clearly doing Meng Jueguang a favor by doing this, so that Meng Jueguang could show his face and establish his prestige in the future. I was wondering why this guy was dressed so pretentiously today, like a duck that was going to be sold. Looks like he's planning this. Xiao Hongkai said with a strange expression on his face as he curled his lips at Lin Yi's group. Lin Yi nodded and said, it's probably because they saw that Meng Jueguang has been forced into such a sorry state by us for the past 2 days, so they took this opportunity to save some face for him. Otherwise, even if he takes the position of 3rd Pavilion Master, he will still be disgraced. Alas, when I think about how senior brother Lu was pushed away by him, I can't help but sigh. I feel uncomfortable in my heart. If he really stabilizes the position of 3rd Pavilion Master, I'm afraid he'll be even more overbearing in the future. Senior brother Ku Bai sighed when he heard this. However, Lin Yi patted his shoulder and comforted him with a smile. Senior brother Ku Bai, you don't have to be too pessimistic. Every dog has its day. When the time comes, who knows who will be lucky and who will be unlucky? Just wait and see. Clearing his throat on the stage, Meng Jueguang then said with a solemn face, the evaluation of the points in this round of the Spirit Beast assessment is divided into two aspects. The first is the points of the Spirit Beast level, and the second is the points of the Spirit Beast strength. The 2 points add up to the final points of this round. Looking at Meng Jueguang's pretentious behavior, the audience couldn't help but feel sick. However, due to their own interests, they could only endure the disgust and continue listening. The so-called points of the Spirit Beast level were based on the level of the Spirit Beast captured by each newcomer. Each level corresponded to different points. Unranked 5 points, Yellow 10 points, Profound 15 points. Earth ranked 20 points, Heaven 25 points. As for those above the Heaven stage, it was impossible because the low-level Spirit Pet Talisman that the Welcome Pavilion issued to the newcomers could at most subdue Heaven stage perfect Spirit Beasts. For those at the Foundation Establishment stage, a mid-level Spirit Pet Talisman was needed. The low-level Spirit Pet Talisman could not guarantee the effect at all. The so-called points of the Spirit Beast strength were to let the Spirit Beasts that the newcomers subdued fight with each other. The rules were completely different from the newcomer challenge. It was a simpler and clearer single-round elimination system. The newcomers of the 3 pavilions would draw lots to determine their opponents. Every time they won a round, they would get 10 points of the Spirit Beast strength. The loser would be eliminated. The highest points of the Spirit Beast level were 25 points, and the highest points of the Spirit Beast strength were 40 points. Added together, it was the theoretical highest points of the Spirit Beast assessment round, 65 points. Compared to the previous 4 rounds, the theoretical points were not high, but for the newcomers, this round was undoubtedly the most practical and exciting round. Even if they did not mention the points, they could at least earn a spirit pet for free, so why not? After explaining the rules of the points, Meng Jueguang reminded them one last time, newcomers, because this assessment round is at the periphery of the back mountain, everything must be done according to the rules of the back mountain hall. Do not do anything stupid like touching the prohibition. Also, the back mountain is strictly prohibited for anyone to casually enter or leave, and you are no exception. So although the Spirit Beast assessment has a month, if you leave midway, it means that you have given up the remaining opportunities and will not be able to enter the back mountain again. After hearing this, the newcomers immediately began to discuss. Even Lin Yi could not help but squint his eyes. They gave enough time for a month, but they did not allow anyone to casually enter or leave. This arrangement was a bit interesting. For an entire month, there was only one low-grade spirit pet charm. One chance would be gone once it was used up, so the rookies naturally chose to wait and see. After all, good steel should be used on the blade's edge. If they were to waste it on inferior spirit beasts, wouldn't it be a waste? However, after hearing Meng Jueguang's words, the newcomers had no choice but to readjust their strategy. The back mountain was filled with ferocious beasts. Even if it was just the periphery, it was still a dangerous place. This was something that the newcomers had experienced during the previous rookie trial. In such a place, almost no one could rest well. If they stayed for too long, they would tire themselves out. When the time came, not to mention capturing a spirit pet, they might even lose their lives. As such, between the risks and benefits, the newcomers had to weigh the pros and cons in their hearts. In the end, to capture a spirit pet and leave quickly, or to risk their lives to wander around a few rounds, this was a dilemma that every newcomer had to face. If they were lucky, they might receive a gift from the heavens, but if they were unlucky, their lives would be in danger. Alright, the rules and precautions have been explained clearly. Newcomers, if there are no other questions, come over to collect the spirit pet charm and prepare to set off. Hu Yunfeng said. Chapter 3893. However, although the distance between them was very far, and the possibility of them meeting each other was very small, there was still an entire month's time. If someone really wanted to cross over, there was still a chance of them meeting each other. Boss, how are we going to move this time? Separate or together? Xiao Hongkai asked softly. Due to the long duration of the assessment, it was unrealistic for rookies from the same pavilion to be separated. Therefore, the rookie placement was not as strict as the previous rookie trial. If rookies wished to form a team, they could request to be placed together. Lin Yi thought about it, then said to Xiao Ran and Xiao Hongkai, for the sake of caution, let's go together first. The previous experience was still fresh in Lin Yi's mind. As soon as he went down, he encountered two extremely powerful Foundation Establishment stage spirit beasts. If it was any other newcomer, they would probably wet their pants on the spot. It was almost certain that they would lose their lives. There was obviously something fishy about this arrangement. Lin Yi was afraid that the other party would use the same trick again. Although he was fine, Xiao Ran and Xiao Hongkai might not be able to handle it. Moreover, Meng Jueguang now had Murong Zhen, an expert at the peak of the early Foundation Establishment stage. If she joined forces with Meng Tong and the others to attack together, they would be a very big threat. They had to be careful about this. After the three of them finished discussing, they were released by the staff of the back mountain hall. As expected, as soon as the three of them landed on the top of the tree, they realized that something was wrong. The place where the three of them had landed looked like a huge tree nest, and a spirit beast was crouching in the tree nest. It looked like some kind of eagle spirit beast. Oh, it feels like it's in the early heaven stage. Boss, our luck is not bad. Xiao Hongcai's eyes lit up. Just as he said, this eagle did not look very strong at first glance. It was in the early heaven stage. For this spiritual beast assessment, it was simply a tailor-made spiritual pet delivered to their doorstep. To be able to meet such a suitable choice as soon as he landed, his luck was really not just for show. However, when Xiao Ran saw this scene, he said with some hesitation, "This doesn't feel right. Something is indeed wrong. This guy is just a cub." Lin Yi said with a wry smile. The eagle in front of him was too familiar. It looked exactly the same as the ghost-eyed golden eagle he saw last time. Ha! Early heaven rank, and it's still a cub. How ferocious would an adult be? Xiao Hongkai was shocked. Even though he had always been courageous, when he saw the chirping little condor in front of him, his eyes flinched a little. If I'm not mistaken, this thing is called a ghost-eyed golden eagle. An adult's strength is at least in the middle stage of the Foundation Establishment stage. It might even be stronger than this, Lin Yi said with some fear in his tone. The ghost-eyed golden eagle he encountered last time was in the middle stage of Foundation Establishment, but it did not mean that it was the limit of their clan's strength. It was entirely possible that they were stronger than this. Hiss! Xiao Ran and Xiao Hongkai both sucked in a breath of cold air at the same time. Above the middle stage of Foundation Establishment, what the fuck, how could they deal with it? One had to know. Even at the same level, the actual combat power of many spirit beasts was far above that of human cultivators. Especially the ghost-eyed golden eagle, which was an overlord-level bird of prey in the sky, it was simply a natural fighting race. It was almost invincible in the same level. If there was really a ghost-eyed golden eagle in the middle stage of Foundation Establishment, the three of them did not have the confidence to fight it at all. Lin Yi might have a chance to save his life, but Xiao Ran and Xiao Hongkai. Then they were really not far from death. Originally, the space in the jade pendant was guarded by the ghost thing. Even if they really provoked an existence like the ghost-eyed golden eagle. Lin Yi was not worried, but what made him helpless was that after the ghost thing heard about the contents of the spirit beast trial, it had already made it clear that it would not intervene, unless Lin Yi himself was in a fatal threat. This matter was not difficult to understand. Although the ghost thing was now only a spirit, it was, after all, an elder of the spirit beast clan. Usually, it helped Lin Yi to intimidate other spirit beasts, but if it said that it helped human cultivators like Lin Yi to subdue spirit pets, it was a bit unreasonable. If these spirit beasts were willing to follow humans, then he had nothing to say, but the problem was that they were going to use the spirit pet talisman to subdue the spirit beasts, which was completely against the will of the spirit beasts. The ghost thing could already be considered open-minded if it did not jump out and kill them. If they wanted him to help them, then it was simply a fool's dream. It's not good to stay here for a long time, let's retreat first. Lin Yi suggested. Xiao Ran immediately nodded in agreement. The young ghost-eyed golden eagle in the early stage of heaven stage in front of him was not scary, but if they continued to stay here, there was no telling when the adult ghost-eyed golden eagle would come, and then it would be big trouble. However, Qiao Hongsai's footsteps were a little hesitant, looking quite reluctant to leave. You don't want to subdue it, do you? Lin Yi asked with a twitch of his eyelids. Qiao Hongkai was silent for a moment, took a deep breath and said, Boss, you two go first, I want to stay and try. What? Hongkai, are you kidding? Xiao Ran was taken aback. At this time, even if he hurriedly ran, he might not be able to guarantee that he would be able to escape unscathed. This guy actually wanted to subdue the young in front of him. It was like pulling a tooth out of a tiger's mouth. He must be crazy. Lin Yi also frowned. This is not a small matter, Hongkai, you have to think clearly. If we run now, the ghost-eyed golden eagle may not chase after us, but if you subdue its young, then it will definitely not rest until you die. At that time, the consequences will be 9 out of 10. In human society, subduing a young was no different from abducting a child. Once the parents found out, they would definitely retaliate crazily, and it was the same for the ghost-eyed golden eagle. With the ghost-eyed golden eagle's strength and mobility, if Qiao Hongkai was really targeted by it in the periphery of the back mountain, it would already be very optimistic to say that 9 out of 10 would be a dead end, and 10 out of 10 would be a bloody reality. Boss, I know, but the stronger the adult, the more precious this young, isn't it? I really don't want to let go of such a good opportunity, even if I have to risk my life for it. Qiao Hongkai said with a resolute expression. At first sight of this little eagle, Qiao Hongkai had the impulse to subdue it, and after knowing that this was a ghost-eyed golden eagle, and that the adult strength was at least above the middle stage of the foundation establishment stage, this impulse became even stronger. One must know that he was a grassroots loose cultivator with no background, and if he had not met Lin Yi, perhaps he would be in the same situation as Cha Wu, who was at the bottom of the ladder, and it would be difficult for him to have a chance to turn things around. As for high-grade spiritual pets, that was even more wishful thinking. Chapter 3894. Looking at Xiao Hongsai's impulsive expression, although Lin Yi felt that this was a bit risky, he still nodded in the end. All right then, there's not much time, hurry up and do it, I'll keep a lookout for you, but there's no need for Xiao Ran to take the risk, he can leave first. Boss, don't look down on me, if you're here, I'm here. Xiao Ran immediately said. Qiao Hongkai was startled when he heard this, his face couldn't help but be moved, he quickly waved his hand. Boss, Xiao Ran, this time it's my own matter, I deserve to throw caution to the wind, but it's not right for the two of you to get involved. If something were to happen, I won't be able to live in peace for the rest of my life. You guys should hurry up and leave. Lin Yi patted his back and laughed. Just relying on yourself, what do you think your chances of survival are? Come on, don't waste any more time talking nonsense, hurry up. Qiao Hongkai looked deeply at the two of them, and no longer dilly-dallying, he immediately turned his head and pounced towards the young bird. The adult ghost-eyed golden eagle might return at any time, and if he could not successfully subdue it before then everything would be in vain. In order to tame a spiritual beast, there were two basic requirements. One was to have a spiritual pet talisman of the corresponding grade. The other was that the captor had to personally injure and subdue the spiritual beast and obtain its blood. This young ghost-eyed golden eagle's strength was probably at the early stage of heaven stage, but if they were to really fight, it was estimated that even a mid-stage heaven stage expert might not be able to defeat it, and it was a ferocious bird, with a natural advantage in the air. After all, Qiao Hongkai was an early-stage foundation establishment expert. With his strength, it was naturally more than enough to deal with this young eagle, but the premise was that the other party didn't escape, otherwise if it really flew into the air, he and Lin Yi wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Fortunately, although this young eagle had been chirping wildly since the beginning, it didn't have any intention of taking off to escape, but had been squatting in its nest, staring at Lin Yi and the others. Even when Xiao Hongkai pounced at it, it didn't fly away immediately. Instead, it fiercely used its undeveloped sharp claws to scratch back. Even Xiao Hongkai, a foundation-building early-stage expert, was left with several bone-deep claw marks. From this, it could be seen how ferocious its battle strength was. Boss, could it be that this cub still can't fly? Otherwise, why isn't it running away? Xiao Ran, who was watching from the side, couldn't help but wonder. The more powerful the spirit beast, the longer its growth period. For example, the ghost-eyed golden eagle was not small. It was already at the early stages of the heaven rank, but there was still a long way to go before it reached adulthood. It was normal for it to not be able to fly. Lin Yi said thoughtfully, maybe. But ghost-eyed golden condor, this kind of vicious bird, is not only powerful, it's also extremely sinister and cunning. I keep having the feeling that this cub doesn't have any good intentions. It can't be. You mean this little guy didn't escape in a hurry because he wanted to bait us and wait for the adult ghost-eyed golden eagle to come back? Xiao Ran looked like he had seen a ghost when he heard that. Nothing is impossible. Spirit beasts at this level of strength are already very intelligent. They are not inferior to humans when it comes to scheming and scheming. Don't underestimate them. Lin Yi sighed. Last time during the newcomer's trial. Whether it was the ghost-eyed golden eagle that almost killed him or the nine-tailed cloud leopard that he killed, the scheming they displayed was chilling. It was not unreasonable for Lin Yi to speculate about the cub in front of him. Let's not talk about anything else. Just now, this cub kept calling out. Maybe there was some kind of telepathic connection between it and its parents. The adult ghost-eyed golden eagle might already be on its way back. While the two were talking, Xiao Hongkai had already successfully subdued the cub. For this, she did not hesitate to pay the price of dozens of terrible claw marks all over her body. After all, time was limited. Every second she stayed here was one more second of danger. In comparison, paying the price of this injury was already a profit. She mixed the cub with her own blood, smeared it on the spirit pet talisman, and then stuck it on the cub's forehead. The success or failure of this adventure depended on this move. Although in theory, the low-level spirit pet talisman could at most subdue spirit beasts at the peak of heaven stage, this was only in theory. The higher the level of the spirit beast, the more difficult it was to subdue it, and the lower the success rate. This was an eternal truth. The low-level spirit pet talisman could be used to subdue spirit beasts with no rank or yellow rank. However, when it reached the level of heaven stage, the success rate had fallen to less than 40%. Even if the preparation was good in advance, whether it could succeed or not still depended on luck. The reason why the spirit pet talisman could be used to subdue spirit beasts was basically equivalent to a strong brainwashing. Once the master was recognized, a spiritual connection would be established between the spirit pet and its master, making it obedient. Other people, including high-level spirit beasts, could kill it, but they couldn't make it yield. Even the pressure between spirit beasts would lose its effect. This was the advantage of the spirit pet talisman, but the disadvantage was that it would bring a lot of mental burden to the master. After all, when brainwashing the spirit pet, the master would also suffer side effects. Moreover, this spiritual connection existed for a long time. If there were two more spirit pets, the master was likely to have a mental breakdown. In addition, the spirit pet that was subdued by the spirit pet talisman would have its spirituality erased to a certain extent, so its real strength was slightly inferior to that of wild spirit pets. Lin Yi and Xiao Ran waited anxiously for half an hour before they saw Xiao Hongkai let out a long sigh of relief and said, "It's done." At this time, the cub had completely fainted, but Lin Yi and Xiao Ran could clearly feel that the original unruly and fierce temperament on its body had disappeared, and it was replaced by a little more docility unique to spirit pets. Although it was a little pity, it was inevitable. There were gains and losses. It's coming. Just as the three of them were preparing to retreat, Lin Yi's eyelids suddenly twitched, and then he felt that the sky had darkened, and the top of his head had already been covered by a huge black shadow. In the end, he still couldn't escape this disaster. The adult ghost-eyed golden eagle had returned. Feeling the powerful pressure of this overlord in the sky, Xiao Ran and Xiao Hongkai couldn't help but be stunned. A casual flap of its wings could break countless giant trees in the sky. What a terrifying power. You two leave quickly, I'll take the cub. Split up and act, quickly. Lin Yi hurriedly ordered in a hurry. With the cub by his side, it could attract the ghost-eyed golden eagle's attention, and Xiao Ran and Xiao Hongkai wouldn't be in too much danger. As for himself, with the ghost thing's protection, his safety was naturally not a problem. Chapter 3895. Even though this was risky, it was still better than carrying an unconscious cub. Even if this cub was not fully developed, it was still more than 100 kilograms heavier than a human. If they were to move together, not only would that person become the ghost-eyed golden condor's target, but their speed would also be greatly slowed. The outcome was almost certain death. However, Lin Yi had his own considerations for doing this. In order to cover Xiao Ran and Xiao Hongkai's safe escape, bringing along the cub was the best choice to attract the attention of the ghost-eyed golden condor. Moreover, the ghost had just given him a hint. Once this kind of cub was tamed by a human as a spiritual pet, it had completely separated from the wild spiritual beast community. If its spiritual beast parents found out, not only would they not continue to protect and provide for it, they would directly kill it. Because it had been brainwashed, it would only listen to its master's orders. Therefore, in the eyes of its parents, it had become an out-and-out alien species, which they would quickly get rid of. However, Xiao Ran and Xiao Hongkai did not know about this. In fact, even if they knew, they would not let Lin Yi do such a dangerous thing. Especially Xiao Hongkai, if he killed Lin Yi because of his impulsive act of taming a spiritual pet today, he would live in self-blame and regret for the rest of his life, living a life worse than death. However, they did not have the chance to speak. Seeing that Lin Yi was carrying the unconscious cub on his body, the ghost-eyed golden condor immediately flew into a rage. Its two giant wings suddenly flapped, and an incomparably strong wind came down from above. Boom! The tree under their feet was already extremely thick, requiring at least 5 people to wrap their arms around it. Even so, it still could not withstand the strong wind stirred up by the ghost-eyed golden condor. After a loud noise, more than 10 giant trees in the surroundings were all broken. Xiao Ran and Xiao Hongkai could not stand steadily and fell into the dust. Fortunately, they were both early-stage foundation establishment experts. Although Xiao Hongkai was in a sorry state and even vomited a mouthful of blood due to her injuries, it was not enough to kill her. Amidst the chaos of broken branches that filled the sky, when the two of them finally stabilized their bodies with great difficulty, Lin Yi had already disappeared without a trace. Even the adult ghost-eyed golden eagle above them had disappeared without a trace. Xiao Hongkai panicked and wanted to look for Lin Yi, but she was stopped by Xiao Ran. With your current condition, even if you chase after him, you will only be a burden to boss. Don't worry, boss never does things he's not sure of. If he dares to do this, he must have a plan. But we can't just leave boss like that, can we? Xiao Hongkai said anxiously. Then wait for me, I'll go up and take a look. Xiao Ran said and directly leaped up a giant tree not far away. It was simply unrealistic to search for Lin Yi in this vast forest. The only way now was to use the ghost-eyed golden eagle to determine Lin Yi's position. Although the ghost-eyed golden eagle's body was huge, it could not move at all. Although the ghost-eyed golden eagle's body was huge, it was very difficult to see it from below. They could only go up to the top of the tree. Xiao Hongkai also wanted to follow up, but he was not an agile expert. He did not know how long it would take to wait for him to climb up the tree. What's more, he was still injured and could only wait for Xiao Ran's news below. After waiting anxiously for a moment, seeing Xiao Ran fly down from the top, Xiao Hongkai hurriedly went forward and asked, "How is it? How is boss?" Xiao Ran had a strange expression on his face. He scratched his head and said, I don't know what to say." "What do you mean? Boss is in danger? Tell me quickly." Xiao Hongkai suddenly became even more anxious. No, the ghost-eyed golden eagle's current position is about 10 miles north. However, when I saw it just now, it has been circling around that position, as if it has been searching, but it has not landed. Xiao Ran's tone carried a bit of disbelief. "What do you mean?" Xiao Hongkai still did not understand. Xiao Ran pinched his chin and speculated, "It gives me the feeling that this ghost-eyed golden eagle seems to have lost boss's whereabouts, which is why it is wandering around like this. How is this possible?" Xiao Hongkai could not help but be stunned. As a powerful spirit beast above the middle stage of the Foundation establishment stage, and it was also an overlord-level bird of prey in the sky, there was no doubt that its perception was powerful. Once locked on by it, even an expert whose strength was above it might not be able to get rid of it, let alone Lin Yi. I also don't know how boss did it, but from the looks of it, it seems to be the case. Although Xiao Ran also had a face of disbelief, seeing is believing, he could not help but believe it. Then what do we do now? Xiao Hongkai scratched his head. If Lin Yi was in danger, according to his character, he would definitely rush over without saying a word, but the current situation was somewhat confusing. Xiao Ran thought for a moment. In my opinion, we can't go to boss's side, otherwise, not only will we not be able to help, but it is very likely that it will ruin things. However, we can't stay here for long. If that ghost-eyed golden eagle can't find boss, it is very likely that it will turn back. Let's leave first, and then think of a way to meet up with boss. Then. All right. Xiao Hongkai was still a little worried about Lin Yi's situation, but in the current situation, rashly following over was indeed the most foolish choice, so she could only do as Xiao Ran said. At this moment, on Lin Yi's side, just as Xiao Ran had speculated, Lin Yi had indeed successfully gotten rid of the ghost-eyed golden eagle's pursuit. The ghost-eyed golden eagle above was similar in strength to the one he encountered during the newcomer trial. It was also in the middle stage of the Foundation establishment stage. Originally, with Lin Yi's current strength, after being locked on by it, it would be a very difficult thing to get rid of it, and from the beginning to the end, that ghost thing did not help. This time, the reason why it was so smooth was because of the cub that Xiao Hongkai had just subdued. Indeed, in the eyes of the ghost-eyed golden eagle above, this cub was an out-and-out signal device. Carrying such a cub, Lin Yi was like carrying a big light bulb of a few hundred watts. No matter how fast his movements were, he could not escape its perception. However, there was an old saying that it was dark under the light. The ghost-eyed golden eagle could have directly locked on to Lin Yi, but since there was a natural big light bulb like the cub, the ghost-eyed golden eagle naturally locked on to the cub. It did not know that Lin Yi had a golden finger called the Jade Pendant Space. When the ghost-eyed golden eagle was lured away from Xiao Ran and Xiao Hongkai, Lin Yi turned around and stuffed the cub into the Jade Pendant Space. Thus, without any suspense, the ghost-eyed golden eagle completely lost track of Lin Yi in an instant, as if its eyes had suddenly gone blind. This was the scene that Xiao Ran saw. The ghost-eyed golden eagle had been circling above, but it could not find Lin Yi's figure. Chapter 3896. However, the ghost-eyed golden eagle was not an ordinary spirit beast after all. Even if Lin Yi successfully got rid of its lock with the help of the space in the jade pendant, he had to be extremely careful in his next move. Otherwise, if he was even slightly careless, the ghost-eyed golden eagle would immediately come back. Although the ghost-eyed golden eagle had temporarily lost track of his whereabouts, it would still search for him in the following period of time. Therefore, Lin Yi did not intend to meet up with Xiao Ran and Xiao Hongkai. Moving alone was safer for both of them. For the other newcomers in this spirit beast assessment, being able to get a spirit pet for free was something that they could not wish for. Like Xiao Hongkai, who was directly hot-blooded when she saw a ghost-eyed golden eagle cub, Lin Yi did not think too much of it. After all, there was a ghostly thing in the space in the jade pendant. If Lin Yi used such an inhumane thing like the spiritual pet talisman to collect a spirit pet under his nose, it would be a little unreasonable. Moreover, this kind of low-level spiritual pet talisman could only subdue spirit beasts below the heaven stage. It was difficult for this level of spirit beasts to enter Lin Yi's eyes. Even when he saw the ghost-eyed golden eagle cub just now, he did not have any interest in it. Of course, if it was a heaven-defying spirit beast cub with the bloodline of a king, then it was a different matter. At that time, maybe Lin Yi did not need to do it himself. The ghostly thing would be happy to see it and take the initiative to help him rope it in. However, this was only the periphery of the back mountain. The probability of a heaven-defying spirit beast appearing was negligible, close to zero. From Lin Yi's point of view, the biggest benefit of the spirit beast test this time round wasn't the spirit pet, but the ability to stay in the outer area of the back mountain for a whole month. To him, this was the best benefit. The 3 pavilions were very strict with the control of the back mountain. For newcomers like Lin Yi, other than the opportunity of the newcomer assessment, they could not go in and out at ordinary times. And this back mountain was the only place that he knew of where he could find the heart-devouring exquisite grass. With the heart-devouring exquisite grass, he would be able to refine the foundation-building pill, and with the foundation-building pill, he would be able to level up quickly. This was what Lin Yi valued the most at the moment. Although there were 2 heart-devouring exquisite grass in the space of the jade pendant, the more the better. If he could find a few more heart-devouring exquisite grass in the periphery of the back mountain, it would be a worthwhile trip. In addition, the back mountain was rich in resources. For any cultivator, it was a natural treasure trove. Even if it was just the periphery, as long as one was willing, one could find many priceless treasures of heaven and earth. Not only were there all kinds of spirit medicines and spirit beasts, but there were also many rare and precious treasures in the outside world. Last time, the newcomer trial only lasted for 3 days. Although Lin Yi had successfully obtained a heart-devouring exquisite grass, he did not have the time to stroll around. However, this time, he had an entire month's time. If he wanted to, he could run around the back mountain's periphery. Such an opportunity. Lin Yi naturally had to make good use of this opportunity. Otherwise, he would be letting down the unique mobile warehouse in his jade pendant space. However, what surprised Lin Yi was that before he could start to sweep, he actually met an old acquaintance in this vast back mountain's periphery. When he discovered that the top of his head was shrouded by a black shadow, Lin Yi thought that he was discovered by the ghost-eyed golden eagle. He did not expect that it was a flying spirit beast from the back mountain hall. A person and a beast descended from the sky. It was actually Shanghai Laner and her little curly-coiled bear. He watched helplessly as Shanghai Laner and the little curly-coiled bear descended from the sky and landed in front of him. Even with Lin Yi's tough nerves, he could not help but be shocked. Why are you here? How rude, why didn't you call me little senior sister when you saw me? Shanghai Laner pointed at Lin Yi's forehead and said angrily. Lin Yi was stunned. At this time, she still cared about these details. Seeing Shanghai Laner's angry look, he could only satisfy her. Okay, little senior sister. That's good. Shanghai Laner's anger immediately turned into joy. She tiptoed and pretended to be calm as she patted Lin Yi's shoulder. The little curly-coiled bear also followed suit and hung on Lin Yi's neck to do the same action, which made people unable to help but laugh. Lin Yi looked at the master and the pet, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. He shrugged and said, "Now can you tell me why I suddenly appeared here?" Under normal circumstances, without the permission of the back mountain hall, no one could enter and exit the back mountain at will. But with Shanghai Laner's powerful background, although it was possible to make an exception and obtain permission, how could the elders of the back mountain hall let her in alone? It must be known that with little curly-coiled bear's strength, it would be difficult for Shanghai Laner to deal with the perils of the back mountain. The elders of the back mountain hall let her in without permission. If something happened, how would they explain it to Shanghai Tianhua? And what made Lin Yi even more surprised was that it was easier said than done to find a person in the vast back mountain periphery. How did Shanghai Laner know that he was here? Hee, senior sister, of course I have something important to do here. Anyway, little junior brother, you have nothing to do, so accompany me to do a mission in the back mountain. Shanghai Laner said with a smile. Mission? What mission? Lin Yi was even more confused. According to his understanding, a young lady like Shanghai Laner would not care about mission rewards. She could have as many cultivation resources as she wanted, so why would she need to do any mission? What's more, she came alone to do a mission in the dangerous back mountain. With the strength of this young lady, who was barely at the peak of the early stage of the foundation establishment stage, and bringing along a burden like little curly coiled bear, wasn't it a little risky? Let me tell you, little junior brother, grandfather gave me a mission a few days ago. He asked me to design a weapon and collect materials for forging. I've already thought of the weapon's appearance, but I'm still missing a few materials. One of the most important materials can only be found in the back mountain, so I, your senior sister, came here. Shanghai Laner said in a serious manner. So that's how it is. Lin Yi nodded in understanding. From his point of view, this should be Shanghai Tianhua taking the opportunity to let this young lady gain some experience. Otherwise, if she were to blindly protect the soaring sky pavilion, no matter how diligently she cultivated, it would be difficult for her to truly grow. Moreover, this little senior sister in front of him did not look like someone who would diligently cultivate. Originally, I was a little scared to come here alone, but I didn't want to ask Su Lingchong and those annoying guys for help. It just so happens that little junior brother is doing the newcomer assessment here, so I directly came to find you. What do you think? Senior sister is very smart, right? Shanghai Laner said proudly. Chapter 3897. Shangguanlan scratched her head and said matter-of-factly, that's how I found you. I told Grandpa Baldy in the back mountain hall that I would come to find you, and then he sent someone to bring me here. Grandpa Baldy? Lin Yi was stunned for a moment, and then reacted. She should be talking about the bald elder sitting in the middle of the back mountain hall. However, this made him even more shocked. Could the elders of the back mountain hall be so powerful that they could so easily lock onto him in the vast back mountain? Even with the assistance of various restrictions in the back mountain, this ability was still shocking. Although there had been such speculations and rumors before, but now that a living example was placed in front of him, Lin Yi couldn't help but shudder. It seemed that he really had to be careful in the back mountain in the future. Otherwise, his secrets might be exposed at any time. Seeing Lin Yi's incredible expression, Shanghai Laner suddenly asked curiously, "Hey? Little junior brother, don't you know? I've heard my grandfather mention that the elders of the back mountain hall can almost cover the entire back mountain with their perception after using the assistance of many restrictions, except for the core area of the back mountain. Although under normal circumstances, no one will do this, but if they are asked to find someone or investigate something in the back mountain, it will be very convenient." This was expected. After all, no matter how strong they were, there was a limit to manpower. No one would always pay attention to the entire back mountain. If they really did this, it was not a joke that they would vomit blood from exhaustion. As for Lin Yi, if it wasn't for Shanghai Laner specifically coming to find him, a big figure like the back mountain hall elders would not waste energy on a newcomer, let alone keep their attention on him all the time. So as long as he acted carefully, there should not be a big problem. The core area, shouldn't that be a place of key surveillance? Why can't I sense it? Lin Yi asked curiously. I accidentally spilled the beans. This is a secret I learned from eavesdropping on Grandpa and several other elders. When the higher-ups talked about this matter, they all called it the shame of the 3 great pavilions. Most people don't know about it. Shanghai Laner stuck out her tongue cutely. The shame of the 3 great pavilions? Lin Yi's interest was immediately piqued. He had been on Heaven's Stage Island for 4 months, and because he had always been in the Welcome Pavilion, he did not know much about the 3 great pavilions. especially some secrets that were not known to others. The back mountain was clearly the territory of the three great pavilions. Yet, something that the higher-ups called a disgrace to the three great pavilions had actually happened in their territory. Lin Yi's curiosity was immediately aroused. Forget it, I won't tell anyone else, but it's a different story if it's you, junior brother. I'll tell you in secret. Shanghai Laner pretended to be mysterious as she let Lin Yi move closer to her ear, then said, in the past, the back mountain hall could monitor the entire back mountain, but something happened later on. When a back mountain hall elder was monitoring the core area, his divine sense was destroyed by the joint efforts of several of the strongest spirit beasts. He has yet to recover from his coma. At that time, the three great pavilions gathered a total of 10 elders to suppress him, but in the end, nothing came of it. After that, this matter was rarely mentioned. After hearing this secret, Lin Yi couldn't help but narrow his eyes. Before, he thought that the back mountain was under the complete control of the three great pavilions, but looking at it now, that didn't seem to be the case. Although the three great pavilions controlled the back mountain in name, there shouldn't be much they could do to the spirit beasts, especially the strongest ones. Otherwise, there wouldn't be such a disgrace to the three great pavilions happening. Lin Yi couldn't help but feel shocked. To be able to fight against 10 elders from the three great pavilions at the same time. Just how strong were the spirit beasts in the core area? No wonder that damn thing said that he would be able to fight them with his current strength during the newbie test. One look from the other party could easily kill him, and that was not a lie. At that moment, Lin Yi suddenly remembered Yu Xiaoka and his unconscious inheritor girlfriends. He asked, this back mountain hall elder hasn't recovered yet. Didn't he ask Master Zhang Liju for help? Or is it that even he can't do anything? Shangguan Laner shook her head. Master Zhang Liju is a big shot who stands at the top of the entire Middle Island, and he's also the master of the Middle Island's Alchemy Hall. Why would he come to the North Island for something like this? Although he came from the North Island, and is more or less biased towards the North Island, he's still standing on the Middle Island side. We can't be too biased and ask for his help for everything, right? I see. Lin Yi breathed a sigh of relief. The symptoms of this back mountain hall elder sounded similar to Yu Xiaoka and the others. If Zhang Liju couldn't do anything about it, then he was a little worried. After all, even if Zhao Hongba had said that Zhang Liju had successfully saved Master Bing and Master Shui, it was just a rumor, and not an actual case. But I heard from my grandpa that the reason why the Elder Council didn't ask for Master Zhang Liju's help was because they felt that a favor was valuable, and they didn't want to waste it on something so small, Shangguan Laner continued. Lin Yi couldn't help but grin. The life of a back mountain hall elder was a small matter. But thinking about it, compared to Zhang Liju's favor, it did seem like a small matter. From the perspective of the three pavilions, although elder-level masters were hard to come by, they could still be trained and recruited. Zhang Liju's favor, on the other hand, was a precious strategic resource that couldn't be wasted easily. Alright, I've already told you such a big secret. Next, you have to work hard for me. Shangguan Laner tiptoed and patted Lin Yi's shoulder again. Then. Alright, Lin Yi thought about it and finally nodded. Although he wanted to use this rare opportunity to walk around the outskirts of the back mountain and search for the heart-eater grass, he could take care of these things when he was with Shanghai Laner. What's more, he was worried about Shangguan Lan, or wandering around the back mountain alone with Xiao Quan Quan. Even if the back mountain hall elders were always keeping an eye on her, if something really happened to her, even with the strength of those elders, they would not be able to help. But, do you know where the materials you're looking for are? Lin Yi asked. Chapter 3898. Shangguan Laner giggled and said confidently, of course I know. Your senior sister has done a lot of homework in advance. The place we're going to next is called Half Moon Lake. We have to walk 200 miles to the north. Half Moon Lake? If that's the case, then let's set off quickly. Lin Yi immediately said. If it was outside, 200 miles was not a long distance for experts at the peak of the early stage of the foundation establishment stage like them. It wouldn't take them long to finish the journey. But in the outskirts of the back mountain, it was very difficult to say. Hurrying through the dense forest was very troublesome, and the key was that danger lurked everywhere. If they were not careful, they would encounter some ferocious creatures. If something happened along the way, they might not be able to succeed even after a few days and nights. It was not impossible to lose their lives along the way. After a whole day and night, Lin Yi appeared at the shore of Half Moon Lake with Shangguan Laner and Little Circle Bear. The reason why it took so long, besides the fact that Lin Yi had taken the opportunity to collect elixirs along the way, was mainly because of Little Circle Bear. This little guy had cheaply plucked the tail feathers of an oddity sparrow midway. Oddity sparrows were very common creatures in the outskirts of the back mountain. Their individual strength was not too strong, basically between the earth rank and the heaven rank. They had a pair of sturdy, ostrich-like legs, but beautiful feathers that were not inferior to peacocks. The oddity sparrow that Lin Yi and the others encountered on the way was probably because it often saw people. After sensing that Lin Yi and the others were not hostile, it actually swaggered around them in search of food. Thus, Little Circle Bear, under the bursting of curiosity, casually plucked a handful of feathers. Then, a tragedy happened. Although the oddity sparrow was a vegetarian bird, it treasured its feathers the most. The consequences of Little Circle Bear's cheaply plucking this time directly caused it to go berserk in an instant. Moreover, the oddity sparrow was a very strong social species. Provoking one of them was equivalent to provoking the whole flock. One odd walker sparrow was not scary, but what if there was a whole group of dozens or even hundreds of them? Even Lin Yi did not dare to say that he could withstand the attack of so many odd walker sparrows. Moreover, in a place like the outskirts of the back mountain, once there was a commotion, the trouble would become more and more serious. Fortunately, although the odd walker sparrow was extremely fast, it had a weakness. It couldn't fly like other birds. Moreover, they couldn't climb up the tree. Lin Yi and the others squatted on the tree for a long time before they finally waited for the odd walker sparrows to gradually disperse. Only then did they manage to escape unscathed. But this action reminded Lin Yi of Yushu, and he couldn't help but sigh. Oh? Is this Half Moon Lake? It looks pretty good. The origin of Half Moon Lake should be because of its half-moon shape, right? Looking at the scene before him, Lin Yi's eyes lit up. Not only that. I heard from Grandpa that there are a lot of fluorescent creatures at the bottom of the lake. At night, it looks like a real half-moon from the sky. I heard that it's very beautiful. Shangguan Laner said with a yearning look. Really? Then it's worth looking forward to. Speaking of which, can you tell us what we are looking for now? Lin Yi asked. From the beginning, Shanghai Laner had been keeping him in suspense, and he still didn't know what Shanghai Laner's goal was. Do you see that super huge cedar tree in the middle of the lake? The thing I want is in the heart of the tree, little brother. Little junior brother. Shangguan Laner smiled. Then let's not delay, let's go there now. Lin Yi's heart moved when he saw it, and he took a deep breath. He changed the topic. The super huge cedar tree that Shanghai Laner pointed out was surrounded by the lake on all sides, but because this was Half Moon Lake, if he set out from the narrowest part, he only needed to skim over the lake's surface for a dozen meters. For an expert in the early stage of foundation establishment stage like him, it was not difficult. However, Shanghai Laner said slowly, "Don't worry, little brother, you still don't know. Although this Half Moon Lake looks beautiful and quiet, but Grandpa said that the more beautiful things in the world are often more dangerous. If you are a little careless, you will die here." Lin Yi was slightly stunned. He had always been very confident in his own perception. In the periphery of the back mountain, he could also perceive the omnipresent danger in advance. He had avoided a lot of trouble along the way, but on the edge of this Half Moon Lake, he had never felt any signs of danger. Until now, this Half Moon Lake gave Lin Yi only one impression, and that was that it was unexpectedly quiet. If it was in the secular world, this tranquility would be a very rare enjoyment, but in this dangerous back mountain, if one carefully experienced it, it would instead make one's heart abnormally uneasy. However, there were no powerful spirit beasts around, nor any other ordinary beasts. Within a few miles of the Half Moon Lake, it gave people the feeling that it was isolated from the back mountain, a pure land that stood aloof from worldly affairs. The degree of tranquility really made people feel a little strange. However, as Shang Wanlan had said, the more abnormal a place was, the more likely it was to have unexpected dangers. There might be some kind of extremely terrifying spirit beast hidden in the Half Moon Lake. Otherwise, it would be impossible to explain why there were no spirit beasts around. I have carefully done my homework. This Half Moon Lake, in the back mountain hall's danger level ranking, is one of the most dangerous places in the periphery of the back mountain. Countless experts have died here, even gold core stage experts do not dare to take it lightly. In the past, there have been precedents of gold core stage experts dying here. Shanghai Laner said while biting her finger. Gold core stage expert? Lin Yi suddenly jumped in fright. He had a premonition that this place was not ordinary, but he never thought that even gold core stage experts would fall for it. Lin Yi had always been very confident in his own strength, so even when he encountered Nan Tianyong, a peak late-stage foundation establishment expert, he did not give up on the idea of fighting, and in the end, he had the last laugh. However, if the opponent was a gold core stage expert, even Lin Yi would not have any thoughts of contending against him, because the disparity in strength between them was like the difference between heaven and earth. If even gold core stage experts were to fall here, then this Half Moon Lake was really not something that he, a peak early stage foundation establishment expert, could handle. If that's the case, doesn't that mean that our chances of success are next to nothing? Lin Yi asked with a frown. If it was just him, then it would be fine. Even if he knew that there was a slim chance of survival, his unyielding character would still urge him to try. But now, he had Shanghai Laner and Xiao Quan Xiong with him. Chapter 3899. With such a lineup, to deal with the Half Moon Lake that even a gold core stage expert might not be able to deal with, Lin Yi really did not have the confidence. If he let Shanghai Laner have an accident here, not only would it be difficult to explain to the Soaring Sky Pavilion's pavilion master Shanghai Tianhua, but even Lin Yi himself would not be able to feel at ease. Shanghai Laner nodded. Not only is it negligible, if we act during the day, there is no possibility of success at all, but at night, there is a little opportunity. At night? Why do you say that? Lin Yi asked curiously. Wait until night, little junior brother, you will naturally know. Shanghai Laner giggled, keeping him in suspense. It seems that you are indeed well prepared, little senior sister. Lin Yi did not continue to ask, and sincerely sighed. Before this, Shanghai Laner in his eyes was purely a young lady, a naive third-generation cultivator, but now he suddenly discovered that if this young lady really wanted to be serious, she was actually quite a reliable person. That is a must, otherwise how can I be your little senior sister? Shanghai Laner had a proud face. The two of them brought little Circle Bear, and immediately began to recuperate on a tree on the edge of the Half Moon Lake. Because there were no other spirit beasts around to disturb them, the Half Moon Lake was a rare secluded place in the periphery of the back mountain. And according to Shanghai Laner, although the Half Moon Lake was an extremely dangerous place, if one did not touch the lake surface, it was relatively safe. In other words, the real danger of the Half Moon Lake was hidden in the lake. As they waited, the sky gradually turned dark, and the Half Moon Lake that did not seem to have many special features during the day finally revealed its true appearance in front of Lin Yi and little Circle Bear. Just as Shanghai Laner said, after night, because of the fluorescent creatures, the lake began to shine. Hiss. Lin Yi could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. After the Half Moon Lake glowed, the scenery here became magnificent, like a fairyland on earth. However, under its beauty, its ferocious true appearance was unreservedly revealed in front of the two. No wonder you said we have to wait until night to find an opportunity. If we act rashly during the day, nothing will be left. Lin Yi was secretly alarmed. Due to the fluorescent light, the two of them could clearly see the scene under the lake from the treetops. This was a level of perception that could not be penetrated by daylight. And in the depths of the lake, shockingly, there was a huge and malevolent black shadow circling around it. Its appearance was unclear, but judging from the black shadow, not only was it huge, but it was also full of killing intent. The feeling it gave Lin Yi was that this fellow's strength was far above that of the ghost-eyed golden condor. It was an out-and-out powerful ferocious beast that would choose a person to devour at any time. If he was ignorant and directly made a move during the day, he would have long since died. But now, because they could clearly see its position, although it was still very dangerous, there was still a chance to take advantage of it. I'm not very good at fighting, so how do we cross the lake to reach the giant fir tree in the middle? It depends on your ability, junior brother. Shanghai Laner shrugged her shoulders at Lin Yi. All right. Lin Yi was already prepared for this. Although with his current strength, it was extremely difficult to bring Shanghai Laner and Little Circle Bear across the lake, but in his opinion, it was a good thing that Shanghai Laner could calmly recognize the reality. Otherwise, if this young lady really wanted to act recklessly, she wouldn't even know how she died. The distance from the giant fir tree in the middle. The narrowest part of the lake was only more than 10 meters, and if the target was directly locked on the horizontal branches, crossing from the canopy of the lake would be closer. Lin Yi carefully observed for a while, and then locked his eyes on a tree not far away. Compared to the surrounding trees that were tens of meters tall, it was not very tall. The top of the tree was only 10 meters from the ground, but this was the one closest to the fir tree in the lake. The distance between the trunk at the edge and the trunk of the fir tree was only 7 or 8 meters. For a master like Lin Yi, who was at the peak of the early stage of foundation establishment stage, this was a simple step. After choosing the position, the next thing to do was to wait patiently for the opportunity. If it was during the day, it was impossible to see the situation at the bottom of the lake, and the danger could not be predicted, so there was no chance to talk about opportunities. But now at night, he could use the fluorescence of the lake to lock the position. At the bottom of the lake was a terrifying existence that could kill a master of the gold core stage. Lin Yi did not have the slightest intention to fight with it, because if they really met face to face, the result was already determined, so he must stay as far away from it as possible. Only when it swam to the farthest end of the half-moon lake would it be the time to act. Then you and Little Circle Bear can stay here. Judging from the situation during the day, this place should be safe as long as you don't do anything unnecessary. Just stay here and wait for me to come back. Remember to hide yourself, there might be some commotion later. Lin Yi said as he stood up. Don't worry, with Little White protecting me, I won't be in danger. Little junior brother, you can rest assured and go on your way. Shanghai Laner smiled and waved her hand. Rest assured and go on my way? Lin Yi suddenly had black lines on his head. He looked at the stupid and cute Little Circle Bear on the side. This guy can protect you? If you really believe this kind of thing, even if you have a few lives, it won't be enough, right? Looking at Little Circle Bear's flaunting movements, Lin Yi speechlessly rolled his eyes, turned around and climbed up the tree. He held his breath and carefully observed the movements of the black shadow at the bottom of the lake. Not only did he have to ensure that it swam to the farthest end, but he also had to figure out its movement patterns. This was the minimum preparation before the action. If he was even a little careless, the result might be a tragic death. This process lasted for a whole hour. Even Shanghai Laner began to yawn, and Lin Yi finally began to move. Now. Lin Yi's eyes suddenly widened, and the full power of the butterfly's subtle steps burst out. His figure crossed over the lake like a ghost. 8 meters, in the eyes of Lin Yi, this distance could be crossed in a flash without the help of any external objects. Now he had to deliberately plan, and even so, whether he could succeed or not was still unknown. Close. The trunk of the fir tree was already very close. Just when Lin Yi thought that he could succeed, the originally calm surface of the half-moon lake suddenly shook violently. Then, he saw a blood-red strip of tentacle as thick as a washbasin suddenly shot up from the depths of the lake at a terrifying speed that was difficult to see with the naked eye. Its target was Lin Yi. Chapter 3900. Common World, House Chu's Villa. Mengyao, Yushu, Yuning, Tang Yun, Xiaoxiao, Guan Xian, Xiaojiu, and Xiaoka, these were the girls that Lin Yi missed the most, and they were all placed in 4 different rooms, all of them unconscious on the bed. Lingshan and Shintian, on the other hand, were patrolling the 4 rooms, paying attention to the girls' condition. On the day of the Heaven Stage Island plan, after the girls fainted, his underlings followed Lin Yi's orders before he left and brought the girls back. Since most of the strong people had already gone to Heaven Stage Island, the remaining people were the strongest, so the process was smooth and no one dared to stop them. After bringing the unconscious girls back to the villa and settling them down, Lingshan and the others discussed the situation and came to the conclusion that the girls' symptoms were similar to Xiaoka's. Their lives weren't in danger, but they wouldn't wake up either. If they wanted to save them, they couldn't do it with their current strength. They could only wait for Lin Yi to come back and see if he could find a way to save them. So, the only thing they could do now was to take care of the girls for Lin Yi. But the villa was only so big, and everyone had their own things to do. It wasn't practical to have so many people take care of the girls. In the end, Lingshan and Shintian took the lead and arranged for 2 people to take turns taking care of the girls. Although they had to take care of so many people, because the girls were all unconscious, there wasn't much to do. 2 people was more than enough, ensuring that there was enough manpower and not delaying everyone's work. Plus, they were all in the same group, and their phones were online 24/7. If there was anything urgent, they would be able to get the message and rush over. So many people were gathered together. Even without Lin Yi as their backbone, with the power of the common world, there were very few forces that could fight against them. Today, it was Lingshan and Shintian's turn. Lingshan was cleaning the rooms one by one, and Shintian was patrolling around the villa with General Weiwu and the Purple Lightning Beast. An esteemed Great Perfection Heaven rank powerhouse was now working as a waiter and security guard. If this spread, it would definitely shock everyone. However, Shintian, on the other hand, didn't have any complaints. The point was that nothing had ever happened to him in such a long time, and every time the guards saw him, they would look at him with hostility, as if they were looking at a competitor in the same industry. Just thinking about it made his balls ache. Look at your sister. Do you think I'd steal your job? Shintian rolled his eyes as he raised his iron hand. In the beginning, he was treated as a thief by the security guards. Now, at least he had improved to become a good citizen, which was worthy of celebration. Just when he was bored to death, Shintian suddenly stopped in his footsteps. Not far from the corner, there were 2 people approaching, and judging from the sound of their footsteps, he should be an expert with extraordinary strength. Are you sure those inheritors are unconscious? One of them, an old man with a hideous scar on his face, asked. 100%. Don't worry, copper-robed celestial venerable. If I, Jining Jun, want to know something, it's a piece of cake. The other person was none other than Jining Jun, who hadn't shown himself for a long time. This guy had his eyes on Mengyao and Yushu. He even sent people to kidnap the 2 girls and instigated the Golden Bell sect to cripple Lin Yi's meridians. He was Lin Yi's absolute enemy. After that, he tried his best to use the Golden Bell sect to latch onto the thick thighs of the Iron Cloak sect, thinking that he could do whatever he wanted and capture his nemesis, Lin Yi. He could do whatever he wanted, and even Lin Yi's women like Mengyao would become his playthings. Just thinking about it made him feel good. But before he could show off his power, he received a shocking piece of bad news. The Iron Cloak sect, an ancient sect, was destroyed by Lin Yi. When he received the news, the ancestor of the Iron Cloak sect, bronze-clad celestial lord, happened to be a guest at the Jin family. As a heaven stage great perfection expert, he was dumbfounded on the spot. No matter what, Tai-E Hall was an ancient sect. Even if it wasn't as impressive and domineering as the Five Elements sect on the surface, it still had a bunch of heaven-rank paragon experts in the dark. How could it be exterminated within a day? However, the cruel reality told him that although all the disciples of the Iron Cloak sect weren't destroyed, the heaven stage great perfection experts who were in charge of the sect that day were all dead. Not a single one was left. When Lin Yi brought people to attack the sect, he didn't hide it from others. Hence, bronze-clad Celestial Lord only needed to inquire a little to know the truth of that day. He also tried to inquire about the situation of the Heaven Stage Island plan. Lin Yi went to the Heaven Stage Island. His women who were his inheritors were all unconscious. This was the key information that bronze-clad Celestial Lord spent a lot of effort to find out. If Lin Yi was still in the secular world, then even if bronze-clad Celestial Lord wanted to take revenge, he would have to think twice. A fierce person who could kill a bunch of Heaven Stage Great Perfection experts of the Iron Cloak sect was not someone that he, a Heaven Stage Great Perfection expert, could afford to provoke. If that was the case, he probably wouldn't even have any thoughts of revenge. He would have long hidden in the deep mountains and forests with his tail between his legs. Otherwise, if Lin Yi knew that there was a fish that escaped the net in the Iron Cloak sect, he would bring people to exterminate them. But now, the leader, Lin Yi, was gone. Those inheritors of the Heaven Stage Great Perfection were all unconscious. In this way, bronze-clad Celestial Lord's opportunity had come. This was simply a heaven-sent opportunity to kidnap all of Lin Yi's most precious women. Since they were already unconscious, he could either kill them one by one or keep them as playthings. When Lin Yi came back, he would take pictures of them and send them to the world. Wouldn't that infuriate him to death? As for Lin Yi's other underlings, bronze-clad Celestial Lord didn't care about them at all. Without Lin Yi as the backbone, these underlings were completely in a state of disunity. Moreover, their strength was definitely not strong. In front of a dignified Heaven Stage Great Perfection expert, what could they do? Chapter 3901. He wasn't the only one who had this thought. Jining Jun was also drooling over Lin Yi's women, especially Meng Yao and Yushu. The two hit it off and Jining Jun personally led the way, which led to this scene. However, just as the two walked to the front of the villa, Wu Chintian was already blocking in front of them and smiled coldly. Someone finally came. I'm sick of being a security guard. You're Lin Yi's lackey. The copper-clothed Sky Master frowned and exploded with the aura of a heaven-class perfection. He said with disdain, get out of my sight or I'll make you wish you were dead. Wow, what a big tone. Wu Chintian couldn't help but laugh and released his aura as well. He sized up the copper-clothed Sky Master and said, I've never tasted death before. Why don't you teach me, ugly old man? Heaven-class perfection? The copper-clothed Sky Master's eyelids twitched as he looked at Jining Jun in blame. Jining Jun was the one who told him that Lin Yi's lackey wasn't strong. In the end, he met a heaven-class perfection right away. Before coming here, the copper-clothed Sky Master repeatedly asked Jining Jun if the inheritors were really unconscious because he was afraid of meeting a strong enemy. He knew that every inheritor of the Heaven-class Island plan was a Heaven-class Perfection Master. Now that he came here, he found out that a random lackey from Lin Yi's side was a Heaven-class Perfection Master. How could he accept this? Are you surprised, ugly old man? Wu Chintian laughed mockingly. After being called an ugly old man several times in a row, the copper-robed Holy Lord finally couldn't hide his anger. Because of the hideous blood scar on his face, he hated it the most when people called him ugly. Those who dared to call him that in the past were now dead. Surprised? A little, but you're just a Heaven-class Perfection Master. You don't think you're a match for me one-on-one, do you? Don't be too arrogant, kid. The copper-clothed Sky Master sneered. Even if they were both Heaven-class Perfection Masters, a kid like Wu Chintian wouldn't be a match for him, there was no doubt about that. With that, Copper was about to attack Shantian. He had absolute confidence in a one-on-one fight. At that moment, another Sky-class full mastery appeared in front of him. Ling Shan walked out of the villa. If one-on-one doesn't work, how about two-on-one? In an instant, the copper-clothed Heavenly Venerate's expression became incomparably unsightly. Two heaven-rank great perfection experts came out casually. What the hell was going on? Since when did full circle heaven rank become so worthless? The point was that Ling Shan was a beauty, and she walked out of the villa. Copper subconsciously thought of her as an inheritor, and his eyes turned murderous as he looked at Jiningjun. Didn't you say that the inheritors were all unconscious? Were Lin Yi's underlings all a bunch of useless loose sand? What kind of bullshit was this? Sensing the murderous look in the copper-clothed Sky Master's eyes, Jiningjun, who was already scared out of his wits, almost pissed his pants. He quickly stuttered, I don't know, that's what the intel said. What's wrong, ugly old man? Do you want to fight or not? Wu Qintian said impatiently. If it wasn't for the fact that he was afraid of hurting the unconscious girls in the villa, he would have already made his move. At the same time, Ling Shan cooperated and revealed her heaven-class full mastery to the limit. She might not be confident in a one-on-one fight, but two-on-one should be no problem. The copper-clothed Sky Master's aura weakened instantly. He came here today for revenge, not to lose his life here. Tai E Hall still needed him to make a comeback. Just you wait, I'll leave my head on your neck for now. I'll take it in the future. The copper-clothed Sky Master finished his sentence and immediately turned to leave. Copper-clothed Sky Master, wait for me. Jiningjun scrambled to catch up. He was afraid that Wu Qintian and Ling Shan would stop him. Looking at the two fleeing figures, Wu Qintian curled his lips in disdain. Copper-clothed Sky Master? Where did these clowns come from? They seemed to be related to the iron-clothed sect, but weren't they annihilated by the boss already? Maybe they're fish that escaped the net. Ling Shan guessed. The iron-clothed sect was an ancient sect after all, and they had a lot of assets. It was normal to have a few fish that escaped the net. Then what do we do now? Should we chase after them? Wu Qintian looked at Ling Shan. She was Lin Yi's woman, one of his sisters-in-law. Before Lin Yi returned, she had the most say. Ling Shan thought about it. Forget it, one of us won't be his match. But if both of us go, someone might take advantage of this place. Alright, since sis-in-law Ling Shan said so, then we'll let them have it easy this time. Qintian nodded, but from the looks of it, this ugly old man will come back. We need to inform the others. After leaving the villa, copper-clothed Sky Master and Jiningjun carefully looked behind them, relieved that Wu Qintian and Ling Shan didn't chase after them. Copper-clothed Sky Master, what do we do now? Jiningjun learned his lesson after being snubbed for no reason. Sky-class full perfection wasn't something he could interfere with anymore. What do we do? Go back and gather people, of course. Copper-clothed Sky Master gritted his teeth in anger. As an elder of the iron-clothed sect, he was scared back by two subordinates of Lin Yi. It was a great humiliation. Jiningjun's spirit was lifted, but he was confused. Where are we going to gather people? Wasn't the iron-clothed sect annihilated by Lin Yi already? Even if the headquarters is destroyed, do you think an ancient sect like the iron-clothed sect is gone just like that? I don't dare to talk about other things, but we can still gather 2 or 3 Sky-class full perfection. Copper-clothed Sky Master humphed coldly. Others didn't know the strength of the iron-clothed sect, but Copper-clothed Sky Master knew it clearly. Although the 5-element sect was the #1 ancient sect on the surface, because the iron-clothed sect didn't interact with the outside world and had always been a sect, the outside world didn't know about their strength. If they knew, they would think that there were so many Sky-class full perfection masters. Previously, the 5-element sect thought that the iron-clothed sect was too weak and didn't have a single Sky-class full perfection master. Chapter 3902. Therefore, Senior Apprentice Brother Gold-Robed Empyrean, Silver-Robed Empyrean, and Martial Uncle Tai were all in seclusion to comprehend the heavenly Tao. It was just that this matter was only known to his junior apprentice brother Tai. Now that Tai was dead, the other disciples did not know. 2 or 3 heaven full cycle. Together with Copper Cloak Sky Master, it's more than enough to deal with those 2. Jun said excitedly. No, it's not enough. Copper Cloak Sky Master shook his head and said with a ferocious expression, this time, we must make sure that nothing goes wrong, so I plan to call an ally. Who? The Overseas Cultivators Association, He Luonan, and they recently joined forces with the center. Jun was instantly filled with respect. Ever since he relied on the Iron Cloak sect, he knew a lot about these top figures. Powerful existences like He Luonan and the center were naturally familiar to him. The copper-clothed heavenly sovereign and the rest of the experts of the Iron Cloak sect added up to 3 or 4 heaven stage great perfection experts. If He Luan and the group of experts in the center were included, the number of heaven stage great perfection experts alone would be more than the fingers on one hand. Now that Lin wasn't here, he could only rely on his scattered subordinates. So what if he managed to get 2 Sky Class full circle? Could they fight 2 against 5? Or even more? That was impossible. Today, he rashly came here and got snubbed. This time, he should be able to get back at them. Lin Yi's women were all rare beauties and they were all heaven full cycle masters. If he could get his hands on them, TSK, Jingjuan's heart itched just thinking about it. A few days later, the heroes of Donghai City gathered and Copper Cloak Sky Master made a comeback. This time, he called the few remaining heaven full cycle masters of Iron Cloak clan over. Master Uncle Iron Cloak Grand Master, Senior Brothers Gold Cloak Sky Master, Senior Brother Silver Cloak Sky Master, and Copper Cloak Sky Master himself, a total of 4 heaven full cycle masters rushed to the door of the villa. Ancestor Iron Cloak, several Empyrean senior apprentice brothers, we've mustered such a large force this time. Needless to say, it'll definitely be a piece of cake. At that time, can you reward us with Lin Yi's women? Jun, who was leading the way, asked shamelessly. The experts of the Iron Cloak sect looked at each other. Finally, it was the Iron Cloak Grandmaster with the most experience who expressed his opinion. Fine, we cultivators don't care about women. This time, our focus is on revenge. As for women, if you want them, we'll give them to you. You can humiliate them however you like. But let me say this first. From now on, Yurjin clan will have to contribute more to the reconstruction of Iron Cloth sect. Of course. If Grandmaster has any instructions, I will do my best. Jun hurriedly answered. The reconstruction of a huge sect like Iron Cloth sect involved many aspects. Many things required the support of secular forces. If he could take this opportunity to intervene in it, the benefits and profits would be self-evident. Of course, even if it was free of charge. At that time, the Iron Cloak sect would send experts to guard the Jin clan, and the Jin clan's grey business of smuggling and drug trafficking would be very worthwhile. Soon, they would be able to get rid of their peers. Iron Cloak Grandmaster nodded. In the past, a small character like Jun wouldn't even enter his eyes. But now that the Iron Cloak sect was destroyed, this was a critical moment. He couldn't let go of any power that could be used. Then, Tai Grandmaster gave Copper Robe Heavenly Lord a look, indicating for him to smash the door. Copper understood immediately, but before he could do anything, General Weiwu and the Purple Thunderbolt Beast rushed out from inside. Then, Lingshan and Wu Tian appeared in front of everyone. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wu Tian counted the number of people and mocked, only 4 Sky Class full perfection and you dare to come here. Ugly old man, looks like you're really a scumbag. I spared you last time, but you didn't suffer, did you? Then I'll have to help you this time. The copper-robed Heavenly Venerate could not help but get angry when he saw how arrogant he was. Kid, this heavenly venerate advises you not to be too arrogant. I'll leave your corpse intact later. Otherwise, That's right, you're just too sky-class full perfection. Lin Yi isn't here anyways, so don't force yourself at a time like this. Zhen Yingjun added. 2. Lingshan raised an eyebrow and laughed. Which eye of yours can tell that there's only 2 of us? Open your eyes wide and look carefully before you say that. Not 2. Zhen Yingjun froze and laughed out loud after he reacted. Don't tell me you're counting these 2 beasts as well. What's this? You're just a dog. Wahahaha. He thought that Lingshan was referring to General Weiwu and the purple thunderbolt beast. These 2 animals looked decent, but they were only Earth-class late-phase peak. To Tie Master and other Sky-class full mastery, they were just cannon fodder. There was no need to worry about them at all. Not only Zhen Yingjun, but the Tai Master, gold-clothed, silver-clothed, and copper-clothed masters were all laughing coldly. They wanted to use 2 beasts against them. This man and woman in front of them must have holes in their brains. Looking at the arrogant faces of the Tai Master and the others, Lingshan and Wu Qintian looked at each other and couldn't help but laugh mockingly. You guys don't really think that there's only the 2 of us here, do you? Wu Qintian said playfully. Isn't it? Come on, don't try to impress yourself here. Let me tell you, it's useless. With the Tai Master and the other 4 Sky-class full perfection behind him, Zhen Yingjun was completely fearless. No matter how strong Lingshan and Wu Qintian were, they were just 2 people who were about to die in his eyes. Oh, no, Qintian was a man who was about to die, and this Lingshan, on the other hand, was a rare beauty. He could let the masters of the Iron Cloak sect cripple her first and keep her for his own pleasure. The Tai Master and the others were sure that the 2 were pretending. As far as they were concerned, it was already a miracle that Lin Yi had 2 Sky-class full perfection as his subordinates. It was impossible for him to have more than that. Plus, all of Lin Yi's women were unconscious here. If he had a few masters, wouldn't he have to stay here to protect them? Chapter 3903. As a result, among Lin Yi's underlings, either these 2 were the strongest, or the monkeys would scatter when the tree falls. No matter what the situation was, victory was in their grasp, and the 2 of them wouldn't be able to do anything. At this thought, the copper-robed heavenly venerate felt a little regretful. He'd suffered a huge loss last time, and this time, he'd contacted He Luonan from the Association and the Alliance's core, but now that he thought about it, it was unnecessary. His Iron Cloak sect could easily take care of this. Why would he let He Luonan and the others take advantage of them? After all, this was Lin Yi's lair, and since his woman was here, there had to be a lot of treasures and resources. It was best to finish this before He Luonan got here. The Iron Cloak sect was in dire need of resources, and they couldn't just let outsiders take advantage of them. Uncle Master, senior brothers, let's not waste time talking to them. Let's get started. The copper-robed heavenly master gave them a look. Iron Cloak sect and the others understood immediately and got into position, ready to make a move. You Iron Cloak sect are an ancient sect, aren't you? You're trying to bully us with numbers, aren't you? Qintian couldn't help but laugh. Iron Cloak and the others blushed when they heard that. They were all respected seniors of the Iron Cloak sect, and it wasn't a good thing for them to bully 2 juniors like Lingshan and Qintian. Copper-clothed Skylord hurriedly said, Do we need to follow the rules of the Jianghu to deal with Lin Yi's lackeys? It's your ancestors' good fortune to be able to die by our hands. Is that so? Since you're planning to bully us with numbers, I'd like to see who has more people. Lingshan smiled and clapped her hands lightly, and 4 figures appeared from behind the door. They were Qin Yutian, Feng Tianlong, Pai Zhishan, and Pai Zhihai. Copper-robed heavenly masters group opened their mouths so wide that 2 eggs could fit inside. Fuck you, these 4 are all heaven stage great perfection experts. Even when they heard the news of the Iron Cloak sect being annihilated by Lin Yi, they weren't as shocked as they were right now. What the fuck, had the world gone crazy? Were Sky Class Masters all so common now? Looking at their dumbfounded expressions, Ling Shan and the others couldn't help but smile at each other. Ever since the copper-clothed Sky Master's visit, they'd changed their shifts from 2 to 6, waiting for this day. As for why they were all Sky Class full mastery, that was naturally thanks to Lin Yi. Before they set off for Sky Class Island, he purposely got a large batch of chi-gathering pills to raise the strength of everyone around him to Sky Class full mastery before he was satisfied. Otherwise, with Lin Yi's cautious personality, there was no way he'd leave these people behind and go to Sky Class Island by himself. At this moment, Tai Yi and the others were stunned, and Zhening Jun, the clown, was so scared that he peed his pants, lying on the ground. It was supposed to be 4 against 2, but now it was 4 against 6. What the hell was going on? Tai Yi and the others couldn't help but wonder if they'd gone blind from old age. 6 Sky Class Perfection Masters jumped out at once, and all of them were just Lin Yi's underlings. This didn't make sense at all. You guys said it yourself, it's not embarrassing to bully us with numbers. Let's go. Qin Tian laughed loudly, charging at the strongest Tai Yi without hesitation. Ling Shan and the others looked at each other, and without hesitation, they picked their targets and attacked. Meng Yao and the other unconscious girls had been secretly moved to Han Jingjing's villa, so even if the enemy came looking for them, they could still fight back without fear. In a situation like this, Tai Yi and the others could only brace themselves and fight. If they ran now, they wouldn't be able to rebuild Tai Yi's sect in the future. They'd have to build a turtle sect instead. Someone like Zhening Jun, on the other hand, was already lying on the side after just a little bit of the shockwave. Ironi and the other 3, while all of them were Sky Class full mastery and could easily win one-on-one, couldn't take on Ling Shan's group in numbers. 6 against 4 meant that there were 2 people who could provide support and sneak attacks at any time. Other than that, there was also General Wei Wu and the Purple Lightning Beast. It was basically 8 against 4. Even if the Iron Cloak Ancestor and the others were a bit more tyrannical than ordinary heaven rank experts, it was still very strenuous for them to fight 2 at once. Being suppressed in all aspects was inevitable, the only suspense was how long they could last. Being suppressed by a bunch of juniors like this, Tai Yi Ancestor and the others even had thoughts of killing themselves right now. They had rushed over excitedly for revenge, but in the end, they were beaten up so badly that they couldn't even fight back at all. The difference in their statuses was way too big, and they couldn't accept it in their hearts at all. At this moment, the only thing that the copper-clothed Celestial Lord was thankful for was that he had the foresight to make an appointment with He Luan of the Overseas Cultivators Association. Otherwise, he would have hit an iron plate today and would never be able to show his face again in this lifetime. However, he only made an appointment with He Luodong. As for when he would come, they didn't discuss it. He could only see what his schedule was. What worried Copper was that if the 4 of them couldn't hold on until He Luodong came, then it would be really bad. Oh, you old men are quite strong-willed. I have a whole new level of respect for you. The 8 against 4 battle lasted for half an hour. Although the 4 masters from Irony sect suffered quite a bit, they were still holding on. They didn't seem to have any intention of running away. This surprised Wu Qintian and the others. It looks like they're waiting for reinforcements. Let's finish this quickly and take down the 4 of them first. Feng Tianlong was experienced and knowledgeable, so he called out to them. Okay. Everyone responded, and the atmosphere was very strong. Iron E and the others were in a precarious situation, and they could lose their lives at any moment. At this moment, He Luodong's voice pierced through the crowd. End this quickly? I'd like to see who's so arrogant. Along with his voice, He Luodong appeared with a powerful aura. Behind him were 3 masters with equally powerful auras. They were all masters he brought from the center, and they were all Sky Class Perfection Masters. The center used to work with the Xianchen ancestor, and after he left, this resource was transferred to his younger brother, He Luodong. What they didn't know was that this wasn't all of Lin Yi's subordinates. Cheng Yi, the dean, Su Shihan, and the others were still taking care of the unconscious women. It was enough to make He Luonan and the others bite their tongues off. With this, even without General Weiwu and the purple lightning beast, Ling Shan still had 9 heaven-rank great perfection on her side, facing He Luonan and the Tai Yi sect's 8. She still had the advantage in numbers. Fuck. What kind of monster did they piss off? Why were there so many heaven-rank great perfection all over the place? The Tai Yi ancestor and the others were on the verge of tearing up. They had been suppressed by Ling Shan's group of 6, and now they finally met He Luonan. They didn't even have time to relax before the situation turned around again. This wasn't how they played. This was too shameless. Seeing how the Tai Yi sect's people looked like they were about to collapse, it was He Luonan who spoke up. So what if they have more people? It's just a few fake heaven-rank great perfection created by some unknown method. What's there to be afraid of? Kill them all for me. As he finished speaking, He Luonan led the charge towards Chen Yutian's group. Even if they were all at Sky Class full completion, the difference in strength was huge. He didn't believe that the 8 of them couldn't defeat these 9 brats. It was just as He Luonan had predicted. Ling Shan's side had the advantage in numbers, but when the fight started, it wasn't that obvious. After all, they only had 1 more person and 2 more spirit beasts. He Luonan and the others were experienced practitioners, after all. In a battle like this where there were tens of people, experience was just as important as strength. This way, at least, they could make up for the disadvantage in numbers, and the 2 sides were locked in a stalemate. Both sides didn't expect this sudden battle at all. He Luonan and the Tai Yi sect's people didn't expect Lin Yi to have so many heaven-rank great perfection, and Ling Shan's group didn't expect the Tai Yi sect to call He Luonan. A small city like Donghai suddenly had more than 10 heaven-rank great perfection fighting. If it weren't for the fact that they were afraid of each other and didn't dare use their strongest moves, the entire Donghai would have been flattened. But even so, it was only a matter of time before they were flattened. It was fortunate that Ling Shan and the others had moved the fainted girls to someplace else, otherwise their hands and feet would have been tied up, and this battle would have been even more difficult. At first, the 2 sides were still afraid of each other, but the more they fought, the more furious they got, and the more they tossed their worries to the back of their minds. If this went on, casualties were inevitable. Ling Shan and the others had the advantage in numbers, but they were still weaker individually. Perhaps they wouldn't lose in the end, but if there were casualties, they'd be the first to fall. These are all newbies who haven't seen blood. They're just heaven-rank great perfection practitioners. As long as we kill a few of them in the chaos, they'll collapse on their own. He Luonan had already seen their weaknesses, and he signaled the others with his eyes, preparing to use his killing move to kill one of them. This was the benefit of having experience. No matter how chaotic the situation was, they could always find a way to break through. If they continued fighting like this, it wasn't impossible for them to kill a master with a random punch. Even He Luonan himself might not be able to make it back alive. But if they could find a chance to kill one of them first, the situation would be different. Even if they were evenly matched, they'd still be able to win without paying too much of a price. Chapter 3905. In an instant, the killing intent exploded, and before the others could even react, He Luonan and the other 3 had already surrounded Ling Shan from 4 different directions, leaving her nowhere to run. This change was too sudden, and the others didn't expect it at all. Even Ling Shan herself didn't know what was going on. It was too late to run now, and she was going to die in the next moment. You're the president of the Overseas Cultivators Association, yet you're using such a despicable method to launch a sneak attack. What an eye-opener. A gloomy voice rang out. Then, several silhouettes approached the crowd from afar. He Luonan and the others froze, and a couple of silhouettes appeared in front of them, saving Ling Shan in the nick of time. Blood Cloak Ancestor? Everyone's face changed when they saw who it was, shock written all over their faces. It wasn't just the Blood Cloak ancestor, but the Yellow Springs ancestor, the Ensign ancestor, and the others appeared as well. All the top masters of the Blood Cloak sect had come out. As the world's top and most terrifying assassin organization, the deterrent power of the blood-clothed underworld sect was self-evident. Even big shots like He Luan and the Iron Cloth sect paled at the mention of their name. They didn't want to provoke such a troublesome enemy. No one would have thought that their attack on Lin Yi's underlings today would draw out the blood-clothed underworld sect, and from the looks of it, they were ready to intervene forcefully. They didn't come with good intentions. The sudden appearance of the Blood Cloak sect's masters shocked both sides, and they stopped what they were doing. They wanted to see where these people stood. Seeing that everyone's eyes were on him, the Blood Cloak ancestor smiled darkly. "I'm here today to announce a piece of news." Before Master Lin Yi left, he entrusted a task to the Blood Cloak sect. "From today onwards, all of his women and men will be under our protection. Whoever dares touch a hair on them will be our enemy, and we won't rest until we're dead." Hiss. He Luonan and the others couldn't help but take in a cold breath, looking at the Blood Cloak sect's masters as if they'd seen a ghost. "Are you fucking sick?" An assassin organization didn't go out to kill people, but suddenly came to say that they wanted to protect Lin Yi's women and underlings. Did they take the wrong medicine? Did they go crazy after being stepped on by Lin Yi previously? He Luonan and the others were still in disbelief, but those from the Iron Cloth sect. At this moment, after hearing the words of Patriarch Blood Cloak, he was really tearing up. He almost knelt down in front of everyone. For the few of them, today's encounter was simply a bitter tear. First, they were shocked by Lingshan's group of 6, waiting for Luo Luo He and the others to come, and then 3 Sky-class masters jumped out. Now, they had a chance to break out of this situation, and then a Blood Cloak Yellow Springs sect popped out. How the hell were they supposed to live? In comparison, Lingshan and the others were overjoyed. They didn't expect Lin Yi to have something like this, something that could even take care of Blood Cloak Yellow Springs, making it their bodyguard. Just the thought of it was unbelievable. What they didn't know was that Blood Cloak Yellow Springs sect's appearance wasn't at Lin Yi's command, but they came to help after noticing He Luonan's group's movements. They were evenly matched, and now there was the addition of Blood Cloak Yellow Springs sect's group. He Luonan and the others from the Iron Cloth sect couldn't back down now. If they kept fighting like this, they would all die here. What do you think, Chairman He? If you want to fight again, I'm more than happy to keep you company. Patriarch Blood Cloak stared at He Luonan with a cold smile. As an ancestor-level figure in the assassin's circle, if they really fought, even if they were in the same realm, he, the blood-clothed ancestor, would be a daunting monster. Ordinary people would not dare to fight with him at all. After all, his attacks were basically instant kills. Even if they were all Sky-class masters, they could still fall for his tricks. Under everyone's gaze, He Luonan held it in for a while before saying, "You win, we'll see how you do in the future." With that, He Luonan quickly led his group away, afraid that Blood Cloak and Lingshan would continue to fight without caring about the consequences. It'd be hard for them to escape if that happened. As for the Iron Cloth sect's Iron Cloak Grand Elder and the others, they were crawling away in fear, not daring to stay a second longer. After this battle, Lin Yi's men would be famous all over the world. 10 Sky-class masters at full mastery. One had to know that even the ancient sects wouldn't have such a shocking amount of power. Plus, they had the Blood Cloak Yellow Springs sect as helpers. Anyone who provoked them wouldn't even know how to spell the word death. Even He Luonan had to suffer like this. However, He Luo Luo was not someone who would give up after suffering a setback. Now that he had suffered such a huge loss, it would be a fool's dream to ask him to give up. If Lin Yi were still in the common world, he wouldn't be able to win, but Lin Yi wasn't here anymore, and he was still being bullied by his lackeys. That was intolerable. After running out of East Ocean City, He Luonan suddenly stopped. He looked at the people from the Iron Cloak faction and said, "Guys, we've lost so much face today. If we don't get back at them, we'll become the laughingstock of all the cultivators in the world in a few days. You won't just let this go, right?" The Iron Cloak Grand Elder and the others looked at each other, troubled. "Chairman, so what if we can't let this go? The situation is beyond our control." If it was just Ling Shan and the others, the sudden appearance of 9 Sky-class masters almost made them go crazy, but to say that it was enough to scare them would be too ridiculous. But no matter what, these people were just inexperienced kids in their eyes. Even if they had the numbers advantage, it wasn't like they couldn't handle them. If they teamed up with Luonan and the others, their chances of winning were quite high. However, the crux of the problem was that the blood-clothed underworld sect had suddenly intervened without any warning. Several patriarchs came out in full force. In the face of this kind of infamous assassin ancestor-level monsters, even experienced experts like them were frightened. In their eyes, Ling Shan and the others were strong, but they were just paper tigers without fangs. They looked strong on the surface, but they were nothing to be afraid of. But Bloodcloak and Yellow Springs were different. They were all battle-hardened monsters who killed without batting an eyelid. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.